Oh, God.
forever.
Well, for a time, she kept a mini refrigerator.
Oh, Zoe has one.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, that's no longer in use.
Yeah, the one at my house broke. They're not built well.
No, well, and I paid a decent amount for that at Walmart. I believe it was upwards of $40. So I really invested a lot of money in her skincare refrigerator.
You should enact a warranty and get.
I think that was the last time I was in Walmart. I'm like, she wants what? It was for her birthday or something. And Marcy was getting ready to order one. I'm like, I'll find one because I looked in the Amazon.
We need
cart.
no
I'm like,
shipping charges here. Let's throw it in the back of the truck. Is what I'm going to do.
Even with Amazon Prime, I bet I can find a better deal, and I did.
Yeah.
And it did not last. But yeah, the routine, and it's not just for like going to bed at night or it's getting ready to go anywhere. Do you know what my wife makes both those kids do? And thankfully, my son has kind of broken off from this. Mm-hmm. The sunblock, all the time, every day of the year.
Oh, really?
You have to put your sunblock on.
Why?
Even in the winter?
Yes.
When it's 5 degrees outside?
Not like lathering up with SPF 50, but a moisturizer with sunblock. You got to have the sunblock. You don't want the sun damage.
Now, I could understand that with your daughter, but with your son.
That's what I told him. I took him aside. I said, "Yeah, don't worry about that."
Because
Stop doing that.
you think about it, they go to school when it's still pretty much dark.
Yeah.
And then by the time they get out of school, the sun's already almost set. So the UV index has got to be, I'm going to guess, low.
Yeah, you live close to the high school like I do. You're outside for, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
How much damage could possibly
In
happen?
fact, this is the dog days. This is the depression. But although Eric Fisher did say that the darkest quarter of the year is now over.
Yeah.
Good.
So now we're in by this time next month, it will be like 6:30.
Yeah.
Sunsets.
Once you get by the end of this month, you at least have hope in front of you.
This one's tough. This morning is very cold. This is tough.
This month you're in the bullseye. It's bad, but once you get by February, although the weather might not necessarily change, and Fred, you and I have talked about this for years, although the weather in March may not necessarily be great, at least you have the hope of good stuff coming shortly.
Right. So two things about the weather here. And I grew up in, if you don't know Detroit, I've never mentioned it. But so I'm from a cold climate, right? Like but then I went to college in Florida, and then I lived in Atlanta for 8 years, something like that. And 8 years. So I lived in Atlanta for 8 years. So when I moved here, I assumed that I did two very dumb things. I should have learned my lesson. One, we had an event on St. Patrick's Day with the Dropkick Murphys, and there was about a foot of snow. And I didn't think that was possible. I thought I was like, it's spring. How the hell is this going on? Mm-hmm. And then you'll probably recall this, John. In a genius way of thinking during March break, during March, decided that my wife at the time and I were going on a Canadian trip where we were going to go to Montreal to Toronto.
Yep.
We were going to fly to Toronto, then take a train to Montreal.
I remember that.
Then back to Toronto.
Yep.
And so I could see Canada. Right. And I figured,
Hardy, what do you think happened? Did that go well for Fred?
Well, Toronto was like 60. Yeah. So we get to Toronto, and it's like I'm not exaggerating. It was like 60 degrees.
Yep.
And when it's 60 degrees, like everyone's outside. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Then we get on a train and we go to Montreal. And Montreal is a barren Arctic wasteland.
Yeah,
in fact,
10.
We got a room at the Ritz. And I'm like, look at us. Like, we got a room at the Ritz for like $300. And then now and the Carolina Hurricanes were staying there too. Mm-hmm. And now I know why. It was us and the Carolina Hurricanes in that hotel. There was no one else. They upgraded us to this huge suite with like a fireplace. I was thinking, this is, oh boy. And it's because nothing was open. People go, did you go to this outside district like by the river or something? And I said, no, it wasn't open. Like nothing that you enjoy in Montreal was open. And I was with my wife at the time, so I couldn't even go to the booby bars.
You ever wonder why Montreal Canadiens fans are fanatics and the hockey team does so well up there? It's because the city is closed for about 3 months.
Yeah, well,
There's nothing else to do.
We went to a Canadiens game.
The new building or the old building?
I don't know.
The one they play in now, or the old Forum, which was legendary.
Probably the one they play in now. When did they move?
Bell Center, right?
Yeah, Bell Center.
When did
I
they
don't remember
change?
when they closed the old one. It was a while ago.
Yeah. Then
20 years ago.
Yeah, no. Then it was the new one.
All right.
We had the brilliant idea going up to Montreal during winter break. This was probably 6-7 years ago. I'm like, we're not doing anything. Took a few days off, and the Canadians were not playing, so we got a great hotel room, like right across from the Bell Center. It was like a corner penthouse that had a walkout to a hot tub, and it was ridiculous. 2 separate sleeping areas, a little kitchen area. I think it was like maybe $300 a night. I mean, it was amazing. So we're driving up there forever, and then it starts snowing as you're going through the mountains in northern Maine to get to Montreal. Vermont, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is a little sketchy. Like, I don't, we all drive in the elements, but this is a different type of feel when it's really snowing and there's no
Up there,
exits.
You can't see the end of the world. You can't. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. That's not good.
Yeah, we get up there and finally check in the hotel. All right, let's go out to eat. And we get onto the city sidewalks for the first time and realize they didn't really bother shoveling or plowing because why bother? It's just going to snow again. So you're just walking through, half a foot of slush and snow and ice. We made it maybe a day and a half before everyone was just at each other's throats, and it was miserable. The one thing I remember doing was going to some underground mall.
Oh, yeah, we did that too.
Yeah, I went there as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. My son went to Stowe with his friend this weekend, and it took him 8 hours to get to Stowe.
Jesus.
To get back, it wasn't that bad, but to get up there because of the snow and everything, and the garbage in Vermont, it took him 8 hours. And I don't mean this the way you might interpret it. Why would you? There's nothing to do with the person. Why would you buy a place in Stowe? Like, why would you do? Like, that's such a precarious, awful drive.
Yeah. On a good day, it's 2 3/4.
So you leave work at Friday. Say you leave work at like 2.
Yeah.
And then you're on the road by 4. I mean, you can take it 8 hours to get up there, 6 hours to get up there. Who wants to drive 6 hours to spend a weekend somewhere? So then if you do that, you're not say you love skiing. You're not skiing on Friday. Then you ski all day Saturday, and maybe you ski a little bit on Sunday, and then you got to face this big-ass ride coming back.
In bad weather, more often than not.
Yeah. How long does it say right now?
I mean, if you left right now, it's about 3.5 hours.
All right, 3.5. It was worse than I thought.
But I didn't know. That's way the hell up there.
Yeah. And imagine, because you're in the mountains, I take it, right? Like, I'll never go to Vermont.
Yep.
But I take it it's the hippies, and it's awful. I will never, ever go to Vermont, despite Adam's adoration of Bernie Sanders. I will not go into.
Adam's the guy who likes Burlington, Vermont for a weekend.
But what about Ben and Jerry?
No, and
I spend more time in Maine and New Hampshire. Vermont, like for the reason you're saying, Vermont's just too. You can get the cool stuff that you can get in Vermont without the hippies and the drive in Maine and New Hampshire.
Yeah, Vermont's really, and it shows you the intelligence of hippies that they've all decided to park themselves in that hellhole. So anyway, so you get, I guess to what Milo and the kids' parents were saying is that you get up in those mountains and it's snowing, you're screwed. They said they were going like 10 miles an hour for long stretches of time.
Jesus. I mean, my God.
I've had drives like that. Like just even to New Hampshire, going up to like Cannon Mountain, you got to go through Franconia Notch, and if it's 93 north, that's the only way to get there. You get into the notch, and it's one lane each way. And if it's snowing and there's plows on the road or there's an accident, forget it. You're on the road for like an extra 2 hours. It's misery.
Well, they didn't take a major freeway up there. They
took the scenic route. I mean, you kind of have to.
Because I could. because he was texting me going like, we're never going to get there. Like, this is like really bad. So I had that Life 360. So I was looking, and they were still pretty far from Stowe.
Yeah.
And they were on it wasn't an interstate. I mean, maybe it was a freeway, but it wasn't an interstate highway. They were on, and I don't think they took a scenic route to get up there on a Friday.
Yeah, you can take the interstate only so far. I mean, I've not been to Stowe, but I mean, obviously, like if you love skiing, like you got to go to Stowe, you got to go to Killington or Vermont. If you're in New England, those are the big.
But wouldn't you go for the week and then just not go again?
Like I would never do that for a weekend.
No.
Like it's insane because your entire Friday night is shot, and then your entire Sunday afternoon is shot. You really only get Saturday.
The one thing I do like about Vermont, I remember hearing a story about a woman. She was an advertising executive, and she, and I didn't even know this could happen, found out that she inherited a baby from a long-lost relative in England. And she gets tired of the rat race in New York City. She bought a place in Vermont. And what she did was she moved up there. Her name was J.C. Wyatt. And she moved up to Vermont. And let me tell you, fish out of water. Things do not go well. All of a sudden, things start turning around. She meets a veterinarian, Dr. Cooper, and they fall in love. She gets offered her job back in New York, but by then, she's already come up with her own gourmet baby food called Country Baby, and she ended up staying in Vermont.
I think there was a Hallmark movie.
No,
about
you have
this.
the story wrong. So here's what happened. Guy, big shot med student. He goes, he runs afoul of someone at the med school. He's got to take a residency, but is it Chicago? Is it New York? Is it Los Angeles? No. It's the middle of nowhere. They bring him to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know what the locals call him? Doc Hollywood.
Well, hold on a second. Was he taking a job in Hollywood?
I listen. They called him Hollywood.
I don't know that the locals would have put that moniker on him had it not had some concrete connection to him.
He don't want to be there.
He didn't want to be
He
there.
doesn't like the
Okay,
people.
all right.
And then, beautiful young lady.
Oh,
Extols the virtues of small town America.
sure.
Doc Hollywood decides to stay.
He
Practices medicine.
stayed in the small town.
Yes. Wow. He didn't need the rat race. He stayed in the small town because he figured he could do well there. Do good there.
All right. Well, good for both J.C. Wyatt and I guess I'll just call him Doc Hollywood. I don't know what it is. Oh, wait a second. I think I did see that on the news. Was his name Ben?
I don't know. Marty McFly is how I know him as.
I think it was Ben.
Or Alex P. Keaton, if you must know. All right. Both your local teams played yesterday, and it seemed to be a good time.
Dr. Benjamin Stone.
There you have it. And then they played, and Luka Doncic talked, and everything else under the sun. We will have all that for you.
You're listening to Touch.
explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Hardy, what's going on?
We got the Celtics and Bruins in action last night. We'll start with the Celtics, who John Wallach accurately depicted, we'll start with the Bruins. The Celtics he accurately depicted as having a good win last night. The Bruins had a good win last night and a really good game out of their goaltender.
Back to McAvoy in the near corner. Johansson took one away, throws it to the net. Save made by Swayman, and the rebound.
Oh, he made the second save as well.
Wow, Rossi had a great opportunity and got a little bit of a quick whistle, I think, but he's arguing.
Yeah, he's arguing right now. He tried to pull that puck from Swayman. I still think he had a chance on the rebound.
Quit your caterwauling. They blew it dead. As Swayman making save after save, which doesn't do you any good unless your team can score some goals.
Lorai out of the far corner. He'll work it back toward the blue line. Over to Pasternak, who was looking for a one-timer instead. Settled it, and then dealt to DePatra, who directed that one on goal. Pasternak moving through the high slot. Throws one in front. Score! Charlie McAvoy was in front and looked like he tipped it home, and the Bruins have a 1-0 lead.
Outstanding call from Ryan Johnston. Bruins would go up 1-0, and you're just hanging on when that happens lately with the Bruins. Are they going to give up a quick chance going the other way? Are they going to allow the equalizer within a minute?
Hold your breath, man.
No.
Did you see the beginning of the game? I watched most of the first period before I flipped over to the Celtics. The Bruins didn't have a shot for the first 9.5 minutes of the game.
Right.
They struggled a little to get started, but Swayman bailed them out. From what I saw.
In the second half of the period, they were unbelievable.
Yes, no, that right after I turned it off, they flipped the switch.
They lulled them into a false sense of security last night. That's what they were doing.
But more to your point, you're just waiting. You're waiting.
You're waiting
for the other
for
shoe to
something
drop. You're
bad
waiting.
to happen.
Is this where they give up the 2-on-1?
No, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Patra, cross-ice pass. Frederick scored! Trent Frederick put it right under the bar, and the Bruins have a 2-0 lead.
They would extend it with the empty netter. 3-0 the win last night for the Bruins. After the game, Joe Sacco impressed with his netminder.
He was solid tonight. I don't know if it was as good as he played all season, but certainly right up there. Looked very, again, he was tracking the puck well, not a lot of rebound opportunities. So, yeah, I think it was probably right up there.
First shutout of the season for Swayman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, when did they start? When they start playing in December, right?
Yeah, right. Sure.
Swayman hasn't had his shutout until last night.
Let's see, I'm counting the games here. I think this is game 55 last night.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, to be fair,
Yeah,
the
what?
defense in front of him hasn't exactly been spectacular.
Okay, but you
they've
would
been
like-
rolling out. They've been rolling out the Providence Bruins core in front of him. But okay,
It's not unheard of for your goaltender, your starting goaltender, to go out there and pitch a shutout or two in the first 3-4 months
he
of the
hasn't
season.
had McAvoy and Lindholm together for a very long time.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you this, is that if this is a weird team. Minnesota, I think, had the best road record in the NHL.
Yes, they did.
And this is, look, they're about as bubble a team as you can be. Probably on the low side of the bubble.
They're actually tied with Tampa for the last wild card
but Tampa's
spot.
got 100 games in hand, so I
It's
wouldn't worry
3.
about it.
It is 3. I looked it up this morning. They
Yeah.
got 3
Have
games in hand.
a season and a half
I
in
know.
hand.
Yeah,
I know.
that they're not really. If you were doing it statistically or odds wise, I would assume Tampa would be
Tactically,
firmly
Fred,
in the playoffs.
Tactically, they're tied for the final wild card spot. Technically, they are as of this morning.
Well, they've fallen behind the juggernaut Red Wings, who've won 7 in a row. So, look, if they sell at the deadline, if they don't sell at the deadline, there certainly shouldn't add. Swayman will have to play like this for them to make the playoffs. And now every game is very, very important, especially conference games. If you miss out on the playoffs to the Red Wings, that's an issue. That Red Wings team is not good, is really not good. And if you lose out to them, Ottawa's not some bastion of stars either.
Right.
So these are you expect Tampa Bay to be pretty good. You're never going to catch Toronto or Florida. So I mean, but the teams that are in your vicinity, you should have been better than. Regardless of your forward collection or how Elias Lindholm plays, you should have been better than them, and you're not. So something's going on.
Yeah.
And if they fire Sacco after the season, they're going to have to clear everyone out of there.
I don't think there's a question that that's what's going to happen. He's not going to be the head coach of this team, barring a massive, flipping of the switch. He is not going to be back next year. So be prepared. This is the year this is the year we thought they were going to deal with last season. We thought they were going to be on the downswing last year.
Right.
And they had, I don't know where they pulled last season out of, but they did it. So everything got pushed back 12 months.
Which is, I mean, look, you have a season like you did last year, and it's only fair to have expectations to be able to match it. But when you take the overhead view of everything, last season was the anomaly in terms of how this team is constructed and what they were really dealing with last year. I think they're playing more like they're constructed now than they were last year.
They were more than the sum of their parts last year, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, all right.
Yeah, the talent level isn't deep. It's not.
All right. It's not an
Especially
excuse. It's
forwards.
not an excuse. I'm just saying if you're wondering which is the real team, I think this is closer to being the real team than last year was.
Yeah.
That's
all right. Mark from Medford. It's been a very long time since you've been on. Hello, Mark.
Yeah, a long time no talk, Fred. How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
So last night and the night before, and the game before that against the Rangers, they look more like a cohesive team. They're starting to get some secondary scoring. You got McAvoy, you got Frederick. But last night was Jeremy Swayman's best game by far of the season. Absolutely no doubt.
Yeah, he's the reason they won, and he's going to have to play like that. That's just the way it's going to be. If they're going to make the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of Swayman. Swayman and Pasternak, I mean, I'm not telling anyone anything they don't already know, but Swayman and Pasternak are going to have to almost single-handedly do this. They're only going to get reliable goal scoring from Pasternak, and they're only going to be able to stop people from scoring with Swayman. So there you go.
The trade deadline is a month from Saturday, and they get 2 weeks off in there for the Four Nations face-off.
What a BS trade deadline. I mean, so what? There's going to be 20 games left by the trade deadline? At least the NBA trade deadline's Thursday.
Now remember, no games for 2 weeks in there, so you only get 2 weeks of games.
What are we going to talk about?
The Four Nations face-off is what we're going to talk about.
I've had multiple people ask me if this is something that they should be aware of because you keep mentioning it and they keep hearing about the Four Nations face-off.
The finals are at TD Garden. Why wouldn't you talk about it?
Because you don't know what it is.
Plus, they're going to...
Four countries battling it out for hockey supremacy for no reason whatsoever.
It's because it's not a thing.
Of course it's not.
People are going to get priced out because of all the people from Finland and Sweden coming down.
That's right.
That's going to be too difficult for them to be able to get tickets.
They love their tournaments. Oh, do they love a tournament?
Oh, yeah. The Instagram accounts that come up on my feed are a lot of hoopla over the captains through the years and this and that, or national captains and stuff.
But from the players, too. Like, I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Well, no. I'm just talking about how much of a big deal the league makes it. But, like Marchand wanted to play really well this year and wants to keep playing so he can be on the Olympic team, the Canadian Olympic team. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the big thing that he wants, that he's striving for, is that he wants to play as well as possible and be as effective as possible. Fluto Shinzawa says partially because of the carrot of the Canadian Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Marchand hasn't been on an Olympic team.
No, he's been on an Olympic team.
He has because that's the big thing, apparently. I know he's been on national teams. Has he been on an Olympic team?
I'm almost positive he has.
Okay. I would guess he has too, but But whatever. He wants to do it again, at least. That's what he wants, according to Fluto Shinzawa. All right, what else happened?
Celtics played last night against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and look, things were the Celtics played well for the majority of this game. And about 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, they had things well in hand.
Celtics by 12. We're down to 9:41 to go. The world of time against Cleveland. Derek White. Push pass from Pritchard. Return to Derek White. 12 on the shot clock. Derek White going to take a deep three. Stepping back, and he hits it.
Wow. Decision making.
Yes, a 15-point lead, 9 minutes left. You're on the road. You're in Cleveland. You got the crowd quiet. Nice. Hold on a second. Let's fast forward about 3 minutes.
99-92. Boston by 7. Mitchell drives on Jaylen Brown. Scoops it up and in. Scored and the foul. Jaylen Brown was backpedaling. Porzingis came late to alter the shot. Just a matter of who they called the foul on.
That hold on.
Marchand has never been on the Olympic team.
Really?
Oh.
Yep.
That's shocking to me. He's been on multiple.
You want to know who
Canadian
he's been
teams.
on? He's been on the World Under-17 Hockey Challenge, the World Junior Championships, the Canada Cup team, and the IIHF World Championship.
That's what I'm thinking
The
of.
Worlds.
The World Championship, not the Olympic.
They love
team.
a tournament.
They do love a tournament.
They love playing for something that has no paycheck attached to it.
Were pros in the Olympics last Olympics? No. So maybe that's the deal, is that the NHL was in the Olympics last Olympics, and that's why he wasn't on the team.
This is my whole reason.
So take
why,
that, Waller.
Yeah, I have a problem rooting for Olympic sports with professional athletes in it because, let's say, Marchand makes the Olympic team. Now he's playing for Canada. Now I have to root against Marchand.
They're booing the national anthem. Screw them.
Exactly right.
Screw Canada.
Screw Canada.
The Four Nations has never meant more.
Blame Canada and screw Canada. There you go.
Yeah, no, it's never meant more than it does right now. We're at a full-on fever pitch. This
Haven't you been
rivalry.
paying attention?
They're booing our national anthem.
Boy, I'm not the only one not paying attention, but we'll be getting to that later when we check in with a friend of ours.
Okay.
Um,
okay.
Can't wait. I forgot about that.
I know what
don't
you're
know why,
talking
but
about.
I can't wait now.
Oh no, I knew. You saw the text I wrote. I said, this is easy break. I said, we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Celtics with a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. See it evaporate. They go from 95-80 to 99-95 with about 4 minutes left. They were the recipient of a couple of very, I would say, one very good call, and then just some dumb play from Strus. Is that is it Derek?
Yeah, no, it's Max.
The kid from Michigan.
Strus.
Max Strus, who
Max
committed
Strus.
3 fouls on one possession.
Okay, so
Yeah.
All right, so he gets called, and they look at it for a flagrant against Kristaps Porzingis when he pushes him out of the way on a rebound. All right, it's not a flagrant, but it was a foul.
Yes.
Strus is losing his mind. He then proceeds to, and I think that came 20 seconds after he had committed a foul.
Correct.
He commits that one. They look at it. It's not a flagrant fine. Celtics get the ball. Another foul. 3 fouls, as you said, John, in about 30 seconds of clock time, which in the NBA was 15 minutes of actual lifetime.
It took a while, yes.
Yeah, and that was pretty much what the Celtics needed, but they actually needed Derek White a couple more times.
Lobs it. Tatum, dotted line, kick out, open. Horford up fakes the 3, drives into the paint, return to Derek White. The hot hand has another 3, circle the rim, and it falls in good.
When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not.
A monster fourth quarter for Derek White, galloping down the stretch like a thoroughbred. Celtics by 10.
Celtics by 10.
14 points for Derek White in the fourth quarter.
How about that?
Yep.
Tickling the bottom of that net.
Yep. Six threes for the game.
112-105 the win over the Cavaliers. Celtics moved to 36-15 on this season.
Jaylen Brown kind of lost his mind a little bit late in the game and did not play the final 4 or 5 minutes. So they won with him sitting down. He had 5 fouls and got teed up also late in the game. And Joe Mazzulla elected to sit him. And you had Peyton Pritchard and Al Horford out there instead. So an interesting lineup that finished, but you were right. They don't win that game without Derek White, and thank God we've been waiting now for months for Derek White to start shooting well again. It's a good time for him to get hot.
And you think that this team is going to live and die by the 3-pointers, and we were talking to Max about it last week. If they need Porzingis, 1 of 6 from three-point territory last night. Tatum was only 3 of 11, so
However, they took more twos than threes in the game last night.
which is what they needed to do. The threes weren't falling. They didn't butt their head against the wall, and as I said, got the win against a very good Cleveland team.
They took by 2, right?
Mm-hmm. 52s, 48 threes last night.
Jesus Christ.
More twos than threes, Fred.
I mean, it's not going to be hard to point to something if they lose in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be, I mean, it's just going to be what happens. I suppose they assume over a 7-game series that it will all even out, but.
No, that's the thing. This team has struggled to shoot from 3 for long periods of time. They had won their 4th game in a row last night. The last time they won 4 in a row was the day after Thanksgiving. I mean, it's been alternating wins and losses for a long time here. But last night, you can look. They lucked out against New Orleans. They got a late shot when New Orleans is a bad team, and Tatum had to hit a buzzer beater to win. Their last game was against a team that was missing some players. Last night, they beat a good team. Not only did they beat a good team, they beat a good team at full strength. Last night was a very nice win.
Yeah, a team that was shooting even worse from three-point territory. Cleveland last night, 11 of 39.
Yeah, John now is telling the Bruins organization, he's just flipping them off and saying he needs to watch every Celtics game. He's got to stay locked in case called off the bench. You know that. That's why he's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the headlines with our own Jonathan, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins and Celtics both won last night. Jeremy Swayman, 35 saves in net at TD Garden, and the Bruins beat Minnesota 3-0. They play the Rangers tonight at Madison Square Garden. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And as we were just talking about, the Celtics went into Cleveland and beat the Cavaliers 112-105. Jason Tatum, 22 points. Derek White added 20. Celtics have won 4 in a row. They'll play Dallas at TD Garden tomorrow night. And Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid told the media yesterday he'll be back to coach the team next season. Chiefs go for an unprecedented 3rd straight Super Bowl win Sunday night against Philadelphia in New Orleans. We'll have our live coverage of Radio Row beginning at 10 a.m. right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180. Enjoy this Sunday's game while dropping with Awaken 180. Wings, meatballs, drinks, all on the menu. Results for real life. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
You're listening to 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
See what he's wearing?
No.
Oh, he's wearing a cool leather jacket, baby.
Oh, sweet.
He is indoors. He's got a nice zip-up leather jacket. He's leaning back. He loves it.
He's L.A. He's all L.A.
Well, it is wintertime out there. You got to have a leather jacket
Sure.
if you're going to go outside.
Especially inside.
Low 60s.
Right.
Especially at a press conference.
Let's hear what Rob Pelinka has to say about Luka.
He has a combination of basketball
fat.
joy and killer instinct, which is really rare. That was number 8, number 24.
What?
So that was Kobe.
That was Kobe. Yeah.
He's saying Luka Doncic is like Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that Kobe was notoriously the hardest working guy in the NBA, and Luka just got traded because he doesn't condition.
Kobe's work ethic, legendary.
Okay,
And that's not being a dick either. That's like Kobe's fire and determination
Yes.
and work ethic is like this hollowed, this
Mythical
mythical
thing.
legendary
Yes.
thing. And
Yes.
Luka just got traded at 25 because he's out of shape.
Luka would like to say something about his conditioning, if you would, please.
It's a motive. I know it's not true, but it's a motive. Like I say, I came here.
It's a motive.
Yeah, it's a motive.
It was a motive for them to get rid of you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
It's a motive. I know it's not true, but it's a motive. Like I say, I came here, one of the biggest clubs in history of sports, so it's a big motive for a long run here.
Okay, I heard finally a basketball guy yesterday say, and it's not good information, but he said, a national guy, I can't remember who it was, he said, something went on, and we might never find out what happened, which has got to be what's going on. Like something went on that has not been released, that the public doesn't know, that the Sham Sharanis of the world, if they want to stay in business, breaking news, which is all they have to do, are never going to uncover. And if you think that that's not the case, I mean, you didn't know about Aaron Hernandez pass at University of Florida until way after. I mean, they knew about it before he got drafted. You didn't know about it. Like, there's plenty of secrets that have been kept for a long time. I mean, the stuff that comes out after the fact about things all the time. So we don't know about it now, but it'll come out at some point, hopefully in our lifetime. After all, John's over half or over double Luka's age.
Mm-hmm. It's true. But then again, so are you, Fred.
No, I'm not. I'm double his age. And if he turns 26 this year, I'm not double his age.
So Hardy is.
Yeah, Hardy is.
Yeah.
But I mean, you didn't have to bring him into it.
Yeah, leave me out of it.
No, leave him out of
It's
it.
between you two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did LeBron call you, Luka?
Yeah, he called me right away, and we didn't talk much because he said
Because I was in a restaurant.
I was ordering, and it's very difficult to hear from speaker if what size.
I knew I was
always say
leaving.
large.
I was halfway through Meatball Sub.
I was leaving Dallas, so I decided, it's time to. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. Time to, use all my coupons.
And
Free sub, free sub, free sub, free sub.
I'm in line at the airport at the Cinnabon, and I must extra icing, and he calls, and I must take.
I understand what you're feeling, but that was really nice of him just to call me right away and welcome me to LA.
Mm-hmm. How about
You like how Bronny made a 3 yesterday, and everyone treated it like it was like a Make-A-Wish thing? You know how like they'll show, and they're heartwarming, but they'll show like high school.
I love those videos.
Yeah, like in high school, like they'll
videos.
the teams will get together and they'll go like, "Hey, this kid's been the equipment manager, he's special needs. Like we're gonna let him go and score a basket." It's wonderful.
Sure.
It's great, but not for the NBA. No, not for a guy who's being paid and taking a roster spot in the NBA.
Yeah.
He made a 3. By the way, it's February. He made his first 3 as a pro in February. How many threes did the Celtics take on an off night last night? Taking threes,
48.
Yeah. So it took him until the middle of close to the middle of February.
He didn't play every game, Fred.
That's right.
No, but
He's been plying his trade at the AAA version of the NBA.
Oh, he's also
an
not
inside-
7'2".
He's an inside man. He's down there banging bodies in the paint.
Yeah, he's the 6'1" inside guy.
He's taking it to the hole.
And so whatever he's listed at, he's not that tall. And so he made a 3, and if you haven't seen it, the bench goes bonkers. Like everyone's like laughing and having fun, and then LeBron goes on about it after the game, because again, now this proves that Bronny James should be in the NBA.
Right.
You should hear kids talk about it. It's not annoying at all. When they debate Bronny James' merits because they've heard of him, that it's really annoying. That's happened in my car before.
Mm-hmm.
Some kid will be in the back pontificating about how good Bronny James is.
You just reach back. Shut up.
Yeah, just like
I'm
stop talking.
I'm going to drive you because you're my son's friend, but you need to shut up.
Yeah, you sound like people that call throughout the day on this station.
Speaking of LeBron, he had thoughts on the trade.
It's been a whirlwind, so I can only imagine, or I can't even imagine, how Luka and AD and Max Christie and Maxi Kleber and obviously Hood Schifino was one of our teammates as well. So it's been challenging for sure, especially for me. Anytime I've had 6 years with AD, win a championship with my guy.
Yeah.
Obviously one of my best friends. Obviously,
Bronny, by the way, made up for his 1-for-1 from 3 by going 0-for-2 from the line.
Oh, good.
He was riding too high. He had too much adrenaline from making the 3 to make any free throws.
Icarus. He just flew too close to the sun.
He flew too close to the sun.
But, LeBron understands this more than most players because the whole, trade deadline and the contracts and the Supermax, it's really just chess game, Fred.
Play a lot of chess. Not in real life.
There's talk of him getting traded. There's talk of LeBron James going to Golden State. At least there was this morning.
Yeah. Well, Golden State is aggressively pursuing a lot of guys.
Durant and Vucevic and LeBron James.
They are the team, according to all the insiders, that has far and away been the most active over the last 40
But they don't want to give up a first-round pick.
That's right. They want to pair Steph for one more run, but they don't want to give up any draft picks.
And there's a player they don't want to give up either. Is it Cole Kmet? Is he on Golden State? Who am I thinking of? Let me see here real quick.
Kmet's a tight end in Chicago.
Yeah. So it's not Cole Kmet. It shows. I guess they could trade Dennis Schroeder, but they would want to. Who's the guy they don't want to trade?
Cole Trickle. He was open wheel, but then he moved to NASCAR.
I can't remember who it was.
He lost his ride, right? His ride.
Yeah. His father.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Didn't know a lot about driving. You just got to find the right pit crew boss. Yeah.
Everyone is. Which one was that? Was that the Kenny Rogers one?
That was Days of
Six-pack?
Thunder.
Oh.
No, you think you're Six-Pack with Diane.
No, I saw Six-Pack in the theater, and that was when I was a kid, and I went, they make these, this is a movie?
Yeah.
Like when I saw Six-Pack in the theater, I remember thinking that they adults made this.
That song is still out there. What's that Kenny Rogers song? Was part
Pay
of
to
that
Come.
movie? Love Will Turn You Around, I believe it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They used that in Stroker Ace, too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
All right. When we come back, everyone's got Super Bowl fever. We get into it.
Play a lot of chess.
If your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
I'm going to get up first thing in the morning and watch this show that I am going to state that I can't stand. I'm going to hate everything that everyone says.
But the money is the same, and the views count just as much if you hate it or love it.
We'll take it.
If you're hate watching it or hate listening to it, what I've come to learn is as long as you're paying attention, that's fine. All right, so here's the deal. Everyone's got Super Bowl fever. Hardy's having people over. I'm the only one from the show who's going.
Well, I don't know. So, Wallach, yes or no?
Actually, we're hosting one, too.
Okay.
So I will not.
Well, thanks for the invitation.
12 is a no.
I'm a no. I'm with my folks.
Beaten?
Beaten. They're having a conversation off air.
Oh, my God. It's a yes or a no.
He goes, no thanks. I got to go to bed early.
What?
Yeah. Ryan gets up at 2 a.m.
Nick?
He does.
Ryan lives in Canada.
Jesus.
Nick's a no as well.
Yeah, Nick's not going to your house.
Oh.
John's having a party, but he didn't even ask us to go.
Yeah, right?
It's weird. How many people are you having?
Like 10.
You couldn't have fit in a couple more.
Well, Amy Lawrence is swinging by, and there's that whole thing.
Yeah, he didn't want to have that. Who's coming over?
Friends that Lee knows from work. We have a couple of couples whose kids play with my kids on travel teams, that kind of thing.
When do you bring out the?
What's that?
What are you having?
I'd have no idea. We have not planned the food yet.
Well,
It's
no need to do it now.
only Wednesday. I mean, it's not like we can't order pizzas ahead of time when we decide tomorrow.
Are you going to use which fishbowl are you going to use for the keys?
We have the right kind of music to play too.
Yeah, you got to. He's cultivating the music right now.
Now,
the playlist.
Is it a BYOR situation, or do you provide robes and kimonos?
We provide them.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. That's not the music either.
No, it's New Jack Swing. You know what you would love is Title City Barbers. All they play is New Jack Swing.
Yep, that's correct.
They used about 3 beats.
Guess what's in Natick Center? Title City Barbers, and guess who goes there?
Yeah, you
That's
do.
right, it's me.
They
do a great job.
I will tell you this, is that New Jack Swing music is such it's like a 1.5, 2 year time period.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to 3 of the songs in a row, you're pretty aggravated by the end of the third one.
Not true. Not true. Last time I went in, they had "Don't Wake Me, I'm Dreaming," Christopher Williams. Great stuff.
What? How many beats total were used in all the New Jack Swing songs?
Maybe 6.
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear 2 songs in a row, Hardy, with legitimately the same beat.
Teddy Riley is still earning royalties from something he did 30 years ago because he produced everybody at that point.
Yeah.
And the Guy, he was a part of the Guy, which is what at 12 was just playing.
Am I remembering correctly, John? Is Chris Forsberg also a fan
Yes,
of
he
New
is.
Jack Swing? So
Chris
that's
Forsberg, big
obviously
fan.
not this week. We've got a lot to talk about with the Doncic trade and the Celtics, but I think a future Chris Forsberg segment might have to be a New Jack Swing off between John Wallach and Chris Forsberg.
It's interesting because I have nothing in common with Chris Forsberg. You guys all seem to share many interests with him. And I
Well,
have
we'll
nothing in
find
common with
something
him.
that you have in common with them. I mean, it took this long to find out about the New Jack Swing thing, but
Yeah, Forsberg. I've talked with Forsberg about New Jack Swing. He knows a lot. He knows more than I do. He's
what
really good.
about Fab Five Freddy?
That's not New
That's
Jack
not
Swing.
New Jack Swing.
What is that?
No, he was a predated hip hop.
Yeah,
He was a
that's
graffiti guy.
More Yo MTV raps.
He was in the Rapture video by Blondie.
Who's the band that appears in?
He's in Wild Style too.
In
Yeah.
the Wesley Snipes drug dealer movie.
That's let's see. Ice-T is in that.
Oh, wait.
What else?
Let's see if I know the ledge. That one, right? Is that Eric B. and Rakim? Are they in that?
No. He introduced it. They're having a big party, and they introduced a band. I thought it was Fab Five Freddy, and it was kind of a New Jack Swing thing.
No. Fab Five Freddy is he's name checked in Blondie's Rapture, and in the video they couldn't get Fab Five Freddy, so Jean Michel Basquiat
New Jack City
plays Fab Five Freddy in the video.
That's right.
But Fab Five Freddy, and then of course the original host of Yo MTV Raps.
I'm
Not a
seeing
big
it-
fan of the Beastie Boys.
It might be Guy, who's in New Jack City. I'm just a quick look at.
Have you tried to watch New Jack City of late?
I have not.
It's no paid in full. That I can tell you. All right. What do we got going? Everyone's gotten Super Bowl crazy. Everyone's offended by John not inviting us over. So, Hardy, I am going to your house because you had the decency to open this up for everyone.
Well, I imagine 12 isn't going because he says he has a family obligation, but he's probably going to be taking in everything that Trombone Shorty has to say about the day. Trombone Shorty. A New Orleans native has, number one, is going to perform a rendition of America the Beautiful ahead of the Super Bowl, and he has offered up his own tour. Let me show you my New Orleans. And he has offered up a tour, and he said what he would do with a day in his hometown. He said the first thing you do
is check out all the grave sites of his friends that have been brutally murdered.
Oh, no, Fred.
As is the way in New Orleans. You heard the comedian from there,
That's
Norm.
terrible. No, that's terrible.
Yeah, you liked it.
sad.
Mark Norman. So Mark Norman is a comedian. He's a good comedian. He's from New Orleans. His parents were teachers, but New Orleans is such a cesspool. They were able to buy like this, like big house in like the city, whatever it is. So Norman comes home from the bars one night, and his parents are tied up in the living room. There's just someone who came in and at gunpoint tied him up and then robbed the place.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
If someone told me before, go see Trombone Shorty, go see Trombone Shorty, go see Trombone Shorty, and I went and saw Trombone Shorty, Trombone Shorty, I will never see Trombone Shorty again.
There have been fans of Trombone Shorty. On this show.
It's beyond me. It's not good. It's not fun. And I would like listen to jazz.
I play the trombone and listen to a lot of jazz. Not a big Trombone Shorty fan. It's a different thing. It's its own thing.
Yeah, but it's not for like people in the Northeast.
Agreed.
It's like a New Orleans funeral type situation.
Yeah, second line type stuff. Yeah,
that's not. No one likes that outside of New Orleans. All right.
He says that he would sleep in, but then he'd drive to his old neighborhood, and he says sometimes people in New Orleans will be like a tourist in our own city. We'll just park our cars on Canal Street, walk down to the French Quarter, get beignets at Cafe Du Monde, and walk along the Mississippi River.
I go to Faneuil Hall sometimes. I'll just park my car and walk into Faneuil Hall.
And listen to the steamboats playing before they take off. I don't believe any of this, Trombone Shorty.
I think that's very false.
I want to go to the Walmart where that guy made the video.
Go to Wally World.
Yeah, Wally World.
Yeah. She keeps herself clean.
She got a summer's eve. She keeps herself clean. She's got a summer's eve. She keeps herself clean. She keep her body clean.
Do we have that in there?
Yeah.
It's got to be there
Oh,
somewhere.
it's for sure. It's in there for sure.
Wally World.
Wally World.
You got to find that for me.
The
Ryan.
video, unfortunately, we can't use, obviously, but the video is just as good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
What is he called? Shopping.
Something card. It's like, Louisiana Purchase.
No. Yeah, I know. He calls the like welfare card Louisiana Purchase, but they call it. It's not. I'm going shopping. It's like, it's like getting. There's some term for it that's delightful.
It's like it's him with 2 or 3 women with gigantic butts.
Yeah. There's no way you haven't
I've
put
seen
a
that.
laptop on your stomach and enjoyed that thing. All right. What else is what else does he say to do? Does he say to go down and go to the dome there and walk around the dome?
He says other favorites include Commander's Palace, Lula Restaurant Distillery, and grabbing a barbecue shrimp po' boy. It's one of the best from Liuza's.
I don't know.
I don't know. I already moved on.
Okay, very good. What else?
President Trump will be at the Super Bowl.
Thank God.
He will become the first. This surprised me. The first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Big fans of the World Series.
Yeah.
Not so much the Super Bowl.
He was
I guess.
invited by the New Orleans Saints owner, apparently.
So they've got a staff on the ground Secret Service. They're preparing ahead of time. Extensive planning and coordination has been in place to ensure the safety of all attendees.
You know that they've gotten rid of end racism. Apparently, the term end racism has been behind the end zones for the last the last, I don't know how long.
Since the last election. Basically.
And then
3 or 4 years.
And then they're taking that away, I guess, in part because Trump is going to be there.
Yes. Instead, they will be stenciling 2 new slogans into the back of the end zones. Choose love is one of the new ones, or is that going to be on both end zones? I guess choose love will replace end racism.
But I'm not.
Well, because they've already conquered that.
Yeah.
It was enough. The three Super Bowls of end racism. People read that and they were like, you know what?
Sure.
Now's the time to end racism. What's next? Now let's just learn to love everyone.
At least one high-ranking league official said the decision to do away with end racism was due to concerns in light of Trump's public statements on the subject. So I don't know if he's mentioned the end racism slogan or something, but
that makes no sense whatsoever.
It takes all of us will also appear in the end zone.
Okay.
So it takes all of us and choose love.
So they're just statements with they're just empty statements.
Yes. Is that statements directed at one?
It takes all of us, to do what?
Yeah.
To choose love.
Yeah, but choose love is an empty statement, too.
Perfect example. John and I choose love on a consistent basis in this room. If you do not, then we can't have a loving studio environment. It takes all of us to choose love.
All right, so how do you choose love? How does one go through the steps? Ending racism, you can understand, is you just don't be racist.
Yeah, it's
so
no direction.
How do you choose love? Love is an emotion.
Fred, you want to hate? You want to love? Make a choice.
There's gray area. Those are 2 extreme emotions, hate and love.
Do you want a pizza or a taco? They're 2 very different things. You got to choose.
That's a good.
Okay. Hate or love? Hate or love, Fred? Make a choice.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm capable of either.
What is wrong with me?
Because you knew where I was going.
I know.
I gave you a little wink.
Too long.
I gave you a little wink.
Good God, what's wrong with
Take the taco every time.
Jesus Christ.
You're proud of yourself?
It would have been they were so stupid that sometimes those are my favorites. I'll tell you what. It's about time they got rid of the end racism thing. That doesn't make any sense. What would Trump care if there's end racism?
I don't know, and it's a big.
Does he have public statements that he didn't like the end racism?
I don't
message?
know. That's what I took from what he said. What public
I don't know.
statements
I
are
don't
we talking
care.
about?
Whatever. It's all fine.
Are they all petrified? He might get angry.
Well, you
I have no idea what
We're asking people to end racism. The president's going to be pissed.
I don't
if you
care
say
if there's
that.
nothing behind the end zone. And the notion of that there's a slogan that it's going to matter is
No, it's
is
the notion
ridiculous.
they have to change it because the president's
But that's
there.
the thing is that that's
Good God.
like
Not
it's
surprising,
funny.
Not surprising commentary from someone who won't choose love. It's a simple choice.
Is that funny though? Like, why would I'm being serious? Like, obviously, I know Trump's like history of his statements and everything. I'm not completely naive. Like, I mean, I don't watch the news or read the news on a daily basis, but I'm not completely illiterate on the subject. I understand how he's had controversial racial views, but I can't imagine. Has Trump made statements against saying end racism in the end zones?
No, this
Because that would be pretty wild.
it's like the NFL is scared. It's amazing.
Like if I got on the air and I was like, they got to stop this end racism stuff. This is just, it's a bad message for people.
What the hell?
Like, I don't think that would fly very well, let alone the president. So I would do research if I had any, if I wasn't going to forget about it right after this. All right, look. There is an expert. This dovetails, this pivots completely in a beautiful way. As much as I am naive to all these political matters, there is a guy that we are associated with or was associated with, and I would go so far as to say friends with, who is very well learned in the topics of political stuff. In fact, so much so that they host from time to time, a political talk show on Boston airwaves. That man's name is Gary Tanguay, and he was on the other night on WBZAM.
Hell yeah, he was.
And they do news, I guess, in the morning, but at night they do just call in with your political talk. And if you thought lunatics listen to this thing, the political guys are real whackbags because they are of small in size in terms of numbers, but diligent in terms of, and very, like, if I did a political talk show, I'd be afraid someone was going to kill me. You should have seen those lunatics at that conference I was at. They were a bunch of like libertarian dudes with ponytails and guns and stuff.
Well, that was a guy in the next studio over.
But that's all of them. They all have ponytails and guns. That's all they are. And they and like
I don't know how
and
Dan Ray does it.
and like United States ties. Like they wear ties to do a morning show. It's all ridiculous. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment.
Touch.
Tell them right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
It's after hours. It's nighttime. And they open the mic to Gary. If you don't know who Gary is, he is the writer of The Arm in the Fall. It's a story about a quarterback, an NFL quarterback, but he gets wasted, laid out, killed. And then it's up to a busty young Latina with two hams in the back of her pants named Rocky Suarez.
A cop's cop.
She was a cop's cop. And he's writing the follow-up to that right now.
That's right.
Yeah. Rocky Suarez
Rocky
was
had
back.
a cut off leg to deal with.
But she's got some disorder which makes her breasts grow. So they're even bigger than the last book, even though they're still natural, though. You know? They keep growing and growing. It's weird. Plus, she's super horny now. Even hornier than before. It's like
you take your phone calls.
It looked like an animal took over her. So anyway, this horny, big boob, big butt cop is walking around. She's all horny. And then there's this murder. You know, that's the elevator pitch. All right, so Gary did sports. He was on NBC Sports Boston for a long time.
Yeah.
He gave me the advice one time to liquidate your 401k and just improve the kitchen. You won't hear that from your financial advisor because it's all a scam. You know, they got rid of pensions just to create 401ks to help the banks. So he, but now he's doing political talk because in WBZAM, of course, is a flamethrower station. They can be heard throughout the Northeast. I would imagine that if you're in Connecticut or like even in parts of New York State, that you can hear it. Oh, Adam, yes.
When I worked at WBZAM, we would get phone calls from as far west as Ohio.
Oh!
50,000-watt blowtorch, and as far south as Florida.
Now that there's the internet, it's not so important. But
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
but at one point, that was very
Big
important.
stick.
Big stick, as they used to say. And here is Gary hosting the nighttime political talk show on WBZAM this week.
Well, good evening. How are we doing? I'm cold. I'm sick and tired of the cold.
All right. Your thoughts, cold weather. You know?
I want to save the controversial topics for later in the
I
show.
got a question for you. Cold enough for you?
Yeah. Hey, producer, we running with abortion or cold? Which hot topic do you want to touch today? Gary's got an opinion on everything, and he's not afraid to debate.
I'm cold.
I'm cold, just so you know. You're not, I am. I run a little hot. Iron deficiency.
Now I know what it's like to be old. I just made a poem. That's gross. Gary Tanguay here.
No, he just looked in his pants. He's like, that's why I'm old. I'm incontinent. Gross.
It's cold and I'm old.
It's cold and I'm old. You know, it feels like I'm dead sometimes. Cold and old. That's how you end up, ladies and gentlemen. Thoughts. 617-779-0985. Where do you go when you die? Is there a heaven or is that a bunch of hooey? Thoughts.
Now I know what it's like to be old. I just made a poem. That's gross. Gary Tanguay here tonight, folks. In for Dan Ray. Really, I am. I put salt out on the walk, chopped up the ice. There was a time where I thought winter was wonderful around here. It's over. It's done. I understand. When people get to a certain age, they just hate it. They just do. Period. End of story.
The kids are wild about the cold. It's us old folk. We can't take it no more. Rocky Suarez hated the cold, but the guys loved it. Why? Erect nips. They loved it. Rocky went braless. Why? 'Cause she could.
At the very least, this could take her mind off of her pain for a few hours.
Some called her a feminist, but she wasn't burning her bras for equal rights. She was burning her bras so men got visibly aroused in their tights.
So, having said that, that's I guess that's kind of all I got to bitch about. Well,
And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And I teach at Emerson.
A little song, a little dance.
Well, good evening. How are we doing? I'm cold. Tired of the cold. Now I know what it's like to be old. In for Dan Ray. Chopped up the ice.
Come on, y'all, it's time to get nice.
Very good.
Wow.
John, he's on Paul's Boutique. John, go ahead.
Gentlemen, good morning. I was flying in, and I watched that Whitney Houston movie there, something about something dance, and Tanguay's in it. He plays Al Michaels in the Super Bowl when she's singing God Bless America, or she's singing the national anthem. They pan up, and there's the Tanga giving his sports casting.
Yeah, they were going to hire Al Michaels. They were having a contract dispute, so I said, I'll do it for free.
They want
So
a
don't worry
local
about
kid.
me.
A local kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, local kid.
You can always find a lot to bitch about if you really thought about it. But this is where I am with politics now. And my opinion on politics was I'm sticking my head in the sand. Or current events, period.
So get ready for a wild ride over the next 6 hours.
What kind of show is he hosting?
Well, it's going to be one of complete ignorance.
He's on a political show. Saying,
I don't pay attention to politics anymore, Wallach.
That would seem to be counteractive.
Well, I don't want anyone mad at me, which is the recipe for hot political talk.
Oh, my God.
I'm taking a page out of the Limbaum book. You know who I'm like? I'm like that fella, that Morton Downey Jr. I'm just smoking and yelling. I got big teeth.
I'm just sticking my head in the sand. I don't want to know. I'm just going to stay inside my house. I'm going to watch The Diplomat. I'm going to watch some movies. I'm going to read some books. I'm going to hang out with my family. I'm going to do a little teaching. I'll talk to Bob Bryan on a podcast twice a week, but I'm not going to pay attention to anything in the real world. I'm not going to do it because it's too scary and it's too depressing.
Yeah, so your calls are going to fill this thing.
I don't watch the news.
Full phone lines.
All right.
News
So,
Talk WBZ.
yeah, you tell me what's going on. I'll just take your word for it.
I can't think.
It's take your word for it with Gary Tanguay.
Worst opening.
I'm going to treat this show like my class. Someone else do the work.
How are we doing?
I found Wallach. Wallach, come in here. You got an hour and 15 minutes to kill. Daddy's going to go get a massage.
I'll be back in 45 minutes.
Well, it depends how good she is.
Let's go to Tom in West Virginia. Are you closer to Pittsburgh?
No, I'm in Pocahontas County. I grew up.
Oh, yeah. Pocahontas. Yeah, she was all right. Raven-haired Native American lady. Got a lot done with that body of hers.
I grew up in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I'm a union man. I never crossed a picket line. Do you understand me, yes or no?
I understand you, too. I'm a union man as well.
Yeah, I'm in the teachers' union.
Do you understand me, yes or no?
Yeah, these guys are the best, these callers. Do you understand? No, I can't understand you. You're so smart. You're so over my head.
I'm a union man as well.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as these free...
And he means SAG-AFTRA, by the way. You know that's what he's talking about,
yes.
SAG-AFTRA.
Yes.
Okay. As far as these free trade agreements for union slobs like me, it will cut down on illegal immigration. None of those predictions ever came true.
Well, when you
Do
say
I hate
it,
Mexicans? No.
I'm lost. I'm losing something. When you said it, what is it?
NAFTA. Come on, man. You got a brain?
Tom, back
No,
off, dude.
come on, man.
No, listen, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood for this crap. You have something to say. I didn't understand what you were saying. I simply asked the question. If you can't be polite, I don't want to deal with you.
I told you before, I'm not paying attention to anything. Jesus. Why are you asking me questions? Right off the bat with you understand me. No. Just talk.
I'm not in the mood for this crap.
Jesus Christ. All this talking and question answering. Leave it alone.
So
Okay,
NAFTA, fine.
So
I
what
do
was
have a brain. I didn't know what you were speaking of. I'm sorry, smart
All right,
ass.
so I apologize. I apologize.
Fine, NAFTA,
Okay?
yes,
And
North American trade.
Okay.
Almost got it.
Back
No,
off, dude.
come on, man.
A stands for ass. I know that. So, no ass. I don't know. We can't do the acronym.
Smart people in New England call people like me that work for a living morons.
No, I'm not going to call you a moron.
None of that. Hang on. When someone's urinating on my leg and telling me it's not raining,
then you're not going to pay him? When's the transaction? Yeah, so someone's urinating on your leg. There's an envelope of cash on the dresser. Okay, yeah.
Jerry got up, grabbed his pants.
You're standing in the tub. Yep. Okay. Following you so far.
when someone's urinating on my leg and telling me it's not raining from either side of the political aisle,
right?
Somehow I'm stupid.
Nah.
That brought them back together, though. They were arguing. It's like when you start urinating on legs.
Yeah. Now I understand it.
Now I'm with you.
Right.
Now we can be friends.
You're talking about play. Right. Water sports. Okay. Got it. Following you.
I'm sorry, smart ass.
I know everything about going to the bathroom.
Someone's urinating on my leg.
Yeah, you got my attention. Rocky Suarez woke up finding someone urinating on her leg.
Somehow I'm stupid?
Yep. Next caller. I'd hang up on you, but then I'd have to talk. I'd hang up on you, but then I would have had to have prepared. So you just insult me all you want. Watch it, buddy, but not so much I'll hang up the phone. Whoa.
Back off, dude.
Come on, man.
Until there's another caller on hold, I won't hang up. I give you that. So you got me there. All right. Well, look, Gary's got more. We have one more thing from Gary, and I love it so much. I love when Gary does the political talk. I love Gary Tangway. We will have that more of that in just a moment.
Well, good evening. How are we doing? I'm cold. Tired of the cold. Now I know what it's like to be old. In for Dan Ray. Chopped up the ice.
Come on, y'all, it's time to get nice.
I don't want to know. Don't want to know the rundown of the show. It's too depressing. That's gross. Gary Tangway here tonight, folks.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics and Bruins both put together very good wins last night. Celtics won in Cleveland over the best team.
There's a reason for this.
It's the Morton Downey Jr. theme.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I was assuming the audio quality there had to be a reason for it.
Taking it back to 1987.
Morton.
Awesome.
He would be like, it's hard to watch, but they're all on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he'll have an episode. He's like, women with huge boobs. Yeah.
They've got the montage of photos on this clip that I pulled, and he's standing there with a noose, and he's got his mouth open with his big veneers. His teeth look like Crash when he got his veneers done.
But he'd be like, fat pigs. And then he'd be like, and then they'd be like, you know, like the women all like, or the people all knew what he was gonna do, and he'd be like, yeah, you're all fat. Like he would have episodes like big fatsos, or women with huge jugs.
He was a provocateur. Now it looks like he had Ron Paul on in 1988. That's what the clip just rolled into here. He's walking into he's ripping butts constantly. Remember, he's just constantly chain smoking from like before the show even started.
He attacked Stuttering John.
That's right.
But I'm not positive that was on the level.
No, yeah.
It's sad when you find out things like that might have been staged. That's like kind of like, it's a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You believed it when you were a kid, and then you're like, I'm not positive that was for real. Yeah. All right. What is for real is Gary Tanguay. He has our friend Gary Tanguay, a good friend, the author of Arm in the Fall, the great murder mystery set at the Super Bowl. In fact, we should probably have him on as a guest because this is the time where his book is the most relevant around the Super Bowl. And he started his show with this. I'll just play this little part to let you know where his head was at when he started.
Well, good evening. How are we doing? I'm cold. I'm sick and tired of the cold. Now I know what it's like to be old. I just made a poem. That's gross. Gary Tanguay here tonight. In for Dan Ray. Really, I am. I put salt out on the walk, chopped up the ice. There was a time where I thought winter was wonderful around here. It's over. It's done. I understand. When people get to a certain age, they just hate it. They just do. Period. End of story. So, having said that, I guess that's kind of all I got to bitch about. Well, you can always find a lot to bitch about if you really thought about it. But this is where I am with politics now. And my opinion on politics was I'm sticking my head in the sand. Or current events, period.
Yeah, so that's how he started the current events show. The political current events show. He says was there, but... And then, you know, when I found out I had this gig a half an hour ago, I changed my tune. I said, just let me have it. I just had the producer fill me in real quick. It was like I got out of a coma. What happened? What's happened over the last 8 years? Tell Gary.
Gross.
I'm going on the air. Look, kid, I know you couldn't do this. I got the voice. Gary, I love Gary. Gary, though, did tell me, like, right when the Sports Hub started, I'm like, he's like, I can give you advice. He goes, I'll give you advice. And I go, all right. And he goes, you got to watch every Red Sox game. You really don't.
There was a time, but not anymore.
You got to watch every Red Sox game. That's how you should spend your time. It's the most effective way of preparing for a show. Is sitting down for 3 hours and watching a Red Sox
Did he invite you out to lunch, too? He's like, I'll teach you.
I mean, he didn't, like, I like Gary a lot.
No,
like, I really do. But, like, I don't want to.
Context.
Yeah. I like making fun of him, like, for this stuff. But, like, I don't want to make him seem like he's an a-hole. Like, he's a really nice guy. So, like, but I think he, like, invited me out to lunch. Like, hey, kid, like, I'll take you out to lunch. But I don't think he, like, meant, it didn't seem like a firm invitation to go to lunch. Okay. But I loved it. And I thought it was funny at the time, too. Like, I didn't think he was being a dick. I thought it was funny. Like, he's like, you got to watch 162 baseball games. Like, the manager doesn't watch 162 baseball games. They're watching Facts of Life on their phone. All right. Here we go.
I have to be honest with you. I am just such a pessimist. I just believe drugs will be in our society forever because they always have been.
Yep. Take it or leave it. Drugs. You know, Gary used to really hit the NyQuil. Even when I didn't have a cold. Your thoughts?
Do you understand me, yes or no?
I'll tell you, there's this new drug called magnesium. I used to chop up a couple lines. I'd be out of it for 3 days.
Get ready for a ride, my friend.
It knocks you right out, does it? Because if it knocked you right out, I got news for you. Everyone would be knocked out.
That was a whole show. You need to try magnesium. It's great. It calms your mind. That was the thing. It calms your mind.
Kids back in the day found out that if you inhale the gas from a whipped cream can, it could give you a buzz. They're not going to figure out that a vitamin can knock you out.
Something you can buy at Walgreens in 3 different forms.
People
Sprays,
huff
pills.
duster. They huff keyboard duster. Like you don't. Yeah, like if there was just something if there was a vitamin for sale at CVS, they couldn't keep them in stock. Everyone would be knocking themselves out.
People don't want to look at the situation realistically. People have been using narcotics.
Like, give me time. Give me time. All I have
using narcotics.
I have on my arm written drugs. So I knew I wanted to get to it.
Let
But
me refer to my notes.
let me refer to my notes. Damn it! It rained, and now they're all it's something about drugs. All right, I don't know what to think. All right, look, drugs. Now, look, this is the number one issue in the country right now. This fentanyl craze. Kids are crazy for fentanyl. It's the pet rock of the 2020s. Remember the pet rock? Those were fun. I've always tried to have an invention of my own, something silly that took off.
617.
I used to just have pew puppets. It was a fun thing with the alliteration. And I thought it would be fun. I didn't use real pubes. That was the marketing would have, the supply chain would have been all messed up. But pew puppets, I tried those out for a while. You know. I went in the fuzzy dice game for a while, but just in time for the 80s to hit, and that wasn't de rigueur anymore.
People have been using narcotics to numb themselves, to self-medicate since the beginning of humankind.
All right?
Huh.
Game, set, match.
Drop the mic.
That'll do it for
Tanner, why don't you let this equipment cool down until tomorrow morning?
I mean, how do you think they found these drugs, right? Wanting to get spaced out. The cavemen.
What kind of drugs, Gary?
Whether it's chewing on a root or whether it's smoking a leaf or whether it's drinking some sort of kind of concoction from a still.
Wikipedia. Ancient drugs. Quick.
Drugs.
Aboriginal drugs. Producer, get on it.
Drugs from the olden days.
You know, Coca-Cola, newsflash, cocaine used to be in it. Yeah. All right.
I put lithium in 7-Up.
This society has never been drug-free.
Yep.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think we can handle it. I don't think humankind can exist without some sort of medication.
I'll tell you, I'm hopped up on goofballs right now. You think I can just get in front of this mic this unprepared without being high?
Using narcotics, smoking a leaf, glass of wine from dinner.
3 highballs after you get home from work.
Let's go jump into a pot of white stuff. Smoking a leaf?
I mean, I picked up that sweet junk habit in Nam just to deal with the atrocities I saw. You know me, man.
Now, I'm not saying, oh, let's make cocaine, legal and let's just go jump into a pile of the white stuff.
Which was the name of an after-school special I started in 1982, Pile of the White Stuff. Scott Baio, me, Willie Ames.
Let's go jump into a pile of the white stuff. Chewing on a root, but without either some anxiety medicine from your doctor, without the 3 highballs after you get home from work, or with the glass of wine from dinner, or with the joint you go out and you smoke on the back patio. I don't think we can, as a society, we cannot get through life unmedicated. It can't be done. We've never done it. We've never done it. Period. Back off, dude.
Come on, man.
Come on, dude.
You know why it was a bad time for Rocky to be in Rocky Suarez's vicinity?
Period.
She was testy. All right, Chris Forsberg. Chris Forsberg is going to join us. I love Gary. What a political talk show. That he solved the drug problem. All right. Well, people like
Smoking
him.
a leaf?
Apparently, people like him.
Let's go jump into a pile of the white stuff.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment with our friend Chris Forsberg.
Well, good evening. How are we doing? I'm cold. Tired of the cold. Now I know what it's like to be old. In for Dan Ray. Chopped up the ice.
Come on, y'all, it's time to get nice.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. Keep us 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Stations. Sports Hub headlines.
Well, it took the Bruins almost 10 minutes before they landed their first shot on net last night, but once they got going, it was worth it.
Patra, cross-ice pass, Frederick scored! Trent Frederick put it right under the bar, and the Bruins have a 2-0 lead.
That could only be Ryan Johnston here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Trent Frederick's goal was part of a 3-0 home win over Minnesota at TD Garden. Jeremy Swayman, the star of this one, he made 35 saves, and the Bruins are tied with Tampa Bay for the final wild card spot in the East. They play the Rangers at Madison Square Garden tonight. Ryan and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. As for the Celtics, they went into Cleveland last night and beat the first-place Cavaliers 112-105. Jason Tatum, 22 points, and Derek White added 20 while making 6 threes. The Green have won 4 in a row. They play Dallas at TD Garden tomorrow night. Speaking of which, Anthony Davis told the media yesterday he may play his first game in a Mavericks uniform here tomorrow evening. And Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid told the media yesterday he'll be back to coach the team next season. The Chiefs go for an unprecedented third straight Super Bowl win Sunday night against Philadelphia in New Orleans. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Grey Goose and Patron. Ski, sip, and score with Grey Goose and Patron. Visit 985thesportshub.com/ski-sip-score to discover winter cocktail recipes like the Grey Goose Espresso Martini and the Patron Cranberita, and enter to win the ultimate ski package. Must be 21 or older. Sip responsibly. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Some people play the game.
Blocked by Horford.
Some talk about
Let's welcome to the Sports Hub Celtics show, by the way. Jim Murray, Chris Gasper.
The Sports Hub Celtics show with Murray and Gasper. Saturdays at noon on the Sports Hub.
Is elongating.
Weekday mornings.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
It's just like a dream come true, you know. I always look up to him. There's so many things I can learn from him, and I'm just excited, you know, just to learn everything, and now I get to play with him, so it's an amazing feeling.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. Our friend Chris Forsberg covers the Celtics for NBC Sports Boston. Talking Green with Chris Forsberg is presented by Bentley University, where good business begins and leaders come to learn. Chris, hello. Oh, I didn't pot you up. All right, I apologize. And I still didn't pot you up. It's this one.
Oh, it's that one.
Okay, very
Am I
good.
always grabbing the wrong mic? I never
It does,
know.
no, it's me. It's not you.
It's
It has
okay.
literally
No,
nothing
blame
to do
me.
with you.
Blame my.
Dude, I can take the heat, all right?
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I don't need your martyr crap.
I don't mind if you want to throw the rookie under the bus.
Okay. You've grown a mustache.
So
You've grown a mustache.
It's a little bit of consternation at home. Wife does not like it, but which only further.
You got to dig in.
Yeah, they like
it's your body, baby.
So I don't even know how it came up. But I said because I think the Celtics were playing bad, and I said I'm gonna rock it until they win 5 games in a row. Well, they won 4.
Huh?
But now like it might be lucky. So I don't think I can shave it.
No.
But I grow facial hair like when puberty hits, it'll look awesome, but it takes me a while.
How many days growth is that mustache?
This is like a week and a half.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
That's
right?
not coming in That's not coming in big.
I mean, I'm the little kid in the mirror going, man, when is this thing gonna come in? But that's why I can't do Movember, because like by the end of the month I've really got nothing.
I think you're fine.
Kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's just get into it. What did you make of the Doncic trade?
I don't know, like everybody else, ludicrous. I just don't understand. I think it's malpractice from a GM to not try to get the best deal out there. I don't care if you think Anthony Davis is the best player you could have gotten. You have to at least call every other team in the league and go, what are you offering? Like, to not do that, I mean, it is just I would say it's not a fireable offense yet, but eventually it could be.
You had Chris Mannix. We had Chris Mannix on and said basically he knew of 5 or 6 teams that were willing to gut their roster and send 4 or 5 first-round draft picks for Luka Doncic.
Look at what Phoenix gave up for Kevin Durant. Look at what Brooklyn got for Mikal Bridges. Like, these are players that aren't, and no disrespect, like KD is obviously a huge name and everything and still very, very good. Like, Luka's 25. And I don't care, like, what you think about his long-term potential as conditioning and all that. You still have to check what's out there. And then, there's reports out there, and of course you never know what to trust. But, like, let's say that the Lakers were at least willing to offer even more, better players, more picks, whatever the case may be, and then to still get talked down somehow blows my mind. So, like, the only way he is validated is if they win a championship, and then you can sort of explain it away and say, well, whatever, we wanted one, and we knew, like, he wasn't going to be great long term. But a decade from now, when Luka is still on the Lakers and still doing amazing things, I don't know. Like, it blows my mind. Look at Nico Harrison's track record. Traded KP for not a lot, Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. Let Jalen Brunson walk. Traded for Grant Williams.
But that was more of a locker room thing. That was just because he was a good guy in the room.
He lasted 3 months.
But in those 3 months, he improved just the atmosphere of that place immeasurably.
You could see Kyrie, the steam coming out of his ears every time Grant was yapping on the bench.
Yeah, the best is when people would try to go, no, it's all nonsense. Everyone likes Grant Williams. And then we would have Gorman on, and Gorman would be like, no.
We talked to Tatum and Brown at Media Day. They told us that.
No, but Gorman would be like, no, that's nonsense. He's really annoying. While he was on the team, he was like, he's super annoying.
Do you remember they mic'd up Grant Williams, not for the last 2 NBA finals ago, and Grant Williams is running around telling people he lived in, and everybody ignored him.
Yeah.
Everybody ignored him. It's like, Grant, just fine.
Yeah, he's a lot.
I will, right. And that I will preface everything with, like, really nice human being. He's like, and I'm probably guilty of this too. I talk a lot. People are probably like, Jesus, will this kid just shut up? I think there was a lot of that with Grant.
You can be a good person and be annoying.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that by saying someone's annoying, that's saying that they have bad character. It's just they're annoying. And it is what it is, and that's not someone you want to travel with and someone you want to be around on a daily basis. All right. Okay, so here's the deal. Do you think there's any chance there's something going on with Luka Doncic that we don't know?
Absolutely. Like, I don't think you get to a point without there being something, again, behind the scenes where you're just like, we're done with this. And so maybe more news will come out. We'll see how guarded they are with, like, really kind of pulling back the curtain. It still doesn't excuse away what they did, right? Like, you still have to, if you're a general manager. Danny Ainge used to say all the time, anytime, like, you even think Kevin Durant might be available or LeBron James, you call. You're not going to get them, but, like, you have to at least make the call.
Yes.
And so, like, even if you think, oh, God, this guy has a problem or whatever the case may be, like, just whatever the issue, you have to at least call every other team. You might have to say, hey, look, we're worried about X, but we need to move off of this. This is, like, for the culture of our program, for where we want to go. Some of it is he got exposed in the playoffs last year by Boston. And yet, I don't know. It still would not explain away what occurred.
Okay, so this trade, I'm fascinated by it because it's just so universally. Like, there's not one person that thinks this is a good trade, which is extremely rare. That, usually there's, like, at least another side to it. I mean, people are saying this is the worst trade in, like, sports history. This is interesting.
You have people who try very, very hard to get on the Dallas side of things, like Perkins and Eddie House on the NBC.
And I get what they're saying. Like, short term, it could be better. Like, the Lakers aren't going anywhere this year. And maybe the Mavs make another Western Conference Finals. Like, it's not out of the realm. It's just what is your window with a 32-year-old center and no draft capital? It's just
Okay, so I'm just trying to think of a reason why he would do it and why he would do it the way he did it. What if Luka has something going on and they didn't want to make it public, or they didn't want to get into it and they didn't? Chris, I'm just trying to think of why.
No, I'm with you. And that's
and so why would he only talk to, again, I don't do this with most things, but this is really interesting. So he's like, I got a relationship with Rob Pelinka. There's something going on with Luka that if it gets out, it's bad for us, it's bad for him, and it's bad for his value. Like, if I do this with Pelinka, we're friends. He's known this during this whole process, what's been going on. I'm going to keep it between us. And then Pelinka's like, look, dude, I got a team to run. like, this is a great trade for me. I understand that, but I'm not going to. I know you're in a position of desperation. I'm not going to give you a bunch of first-round picks for him.
Don't you think in that instance, though, then Luka comes out and says, like, hey, I really want to thank the Mavs for everything? Like,
No, because he's 25 and entitled, and that's not the way that he operates.
If I just fear, like, if you think someone's going to expose your dirty laundry at some point, like, you probably kill them with kindness. And regardless if you're stung by the move, I think you just protect your butt a little bit.
I mean, that's a good point.
But it's easier to say that when you're not 25 and in the middle
and like,
of it.
look, and part of why Luke is great is probably because he's like irrational. Like every superstar is irrationally confident, irrationally like unaware of their shortcomings, and so I think that's part of it. But
especially basketball, where you're rewarded at a very young
100%.
age. Like where shoe companies are in your pocket.
Yep.
I mean, but
and there's no doubt as to your contributions and your value on the court. You're out there for 35, 40 minutes a night, and you see teams win when you play and lose when you don't.
And he probably sits there and doesn't even realize how bad defensively he was in the playoffs last year, and doesn't understand the limitations he does put on a championship caliber team. So, like, I get all that. But my question is, like, 5 years from, not even 5 years from now, let's say, like, 3 years from now. So AD gets hurt, misses, like, a season, whatever. It ends badly in Dallas. Nico Harrison is eventually fired, which will happen regardless of whether they win a title, whatever. Everyone meets an expiration. Does he end up on the Lakers payroll at some point? Like, he's got a relationship with Pelinka. If, like, your next job, you need somebody. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I wonder. I don't think that's what is happening here. I don't think the league. Like, I've heard all the conspiracy theories. I just think, maybe you make a move and you go, well, things go bad. I got a fallback plan with my buddy.
What
Rob.
about the tariff conspiracy theory that the Mavs owner, big contributor to the campaign, taking a lot of heat for these tariffs? The president calls her up, says, "Hey, will you do something absolutely bananas to take the heat off me and these tariffs?"
Well, I haven't heard that. So the owner of the Mavericks is a big Trump supporter, and the conspiracy theory is that since the market was panicking over the tariffs, that he had asked this is funny. So he had asked the owner of the Mavericks to do something outrageous to get the heat off of him.
My more favorite one is that the family that now owns the Mavericks, their background is in gambling. They don't think sports gambling is going to pass in Texas, and that they are somehow now angling to burn their bridge so bad in Texas they can eventually move the team to Las Vegas instead of like the expansion.
That's what Mannix said yesterday.
There are essays written about that so far. I mean, like that. Now the tariff thing is absolutely bonkers.
I mean, can we rule anything out in this world anymore?
That one I can't.
No one can.
Yes.
No one. Listen, I hear Aaron Rodgers with a lot of theories and a lot of things.
But this one has like real people with real thoughts on the subject saying, oh, no, just because what is Dallas, fourth biggest market?
Yes.
Media market?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a huge market. They're like, no, we're going to burn our bridges here. We're going to tank this thing so that we can move to and build a casino, hotel, arena, and be the basketball team that sets up camp in Las Vegas.
But they offered $2,000 refunds to people that were canceling their season tickets. So they did like a gesture to the fans.
Yeah. If you were really trying to piss
if you were trying to piss everyone off, you would just be like, you double freedom rocket them.
Yeah.
But the team did, and I thought it was odd.
This is like yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday
it's
they
amazing.
offered a $2,000 like refund if you canceled your tickets.
Exactly.
The one thing, like, to bring it back to like a Boston thing that is like kind of scary is, okay, so Celtics are about to get new ownership too. New ownership does wacky things sometimes, and it's just something you have to have your antenna up for.
It's a little different though here.
100%, and
a little bit different. When the new owner comes in, it's not like the new owner is dealing with a massive overage. They're dealing with massive losses if they don't make a deal like that.
Right.
So it's different than in Dallas. Way different.
It is, but like, you get to see, like, Mark Cuban would have never made that move, right? No matter probably the pressure. Like, he would just deal with the pressure. He loved Luka. And so you bring out outsiders who don't have quite the attachment. And so it's just something I'm watching. I'm just saying.
Okay. So if a Celtic owner came in and he says, look, we're losing money and, these salaries are out of control, what's the end game? Like, what
Right.
What could someone do that you think would be like super disruptive?
I'm even just as simple as trading Jaylen Brown if Jaylen Brown didn't want to be traded.
There are
You know?
conspiracy theories out there already. I mean, I heard one in the spring. As soon as Wick put the team up for sale, trade Jaylen Brown to whoever gets the first pick so you could draft Cooper Flagg. That was out there.
Do you think that you could get things under control from a financial standpoint without trading Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, look, it might not be super super agreeable, but like you can move. And unfortunately, all the pieces you brought in, Drew, KP, like thin the bench a little bit, go younger there. You can still have Jason and Jalen. The J era can persist. You're just not going to have the talent necessarily around them, and that's. I mean, look,
But that's inevitable.
right. They've got tough decisions regardless of what's
Right,
happening.
right.
But it's just, I think there are some owners that are going to be willing to pay, especially if you're competitive to the finish line of this year, to keep much of this core together. And there could be owners that come in and just go, we just paid $6 billion. We don't have a stadium. We want to just get the money right here, clear this thing out, get below the tax so we're not repeater penalty down the road. Like, again, so these are just like little things to I would say if you're a Celtic fan, don't even worry about it right now because it's just like you got to be so fixed on what's happening in the moment. But hovering above everything is some uncertainty.
You have to admit that even though it would be terrible on the court, or probably not the greatest on the court, I should say, the notion of trading Jaylen Brown for the number 1 overall pick and taking Cooper Flagg is interesting.
Yes.
I mean, it would be certainly interesting.
It was a fascinating discussion at the time.
Like-
Everyone was like, no, you can't do that. You can't do
Well,
that.
I mean, you could
A
do
new
it.
owner, if presented with that, I think takes a hard look at
And
it.
then he goes to kids from Maine, like you know,
Yes.
he's a kid. You know, he's from around here. He's got all this hype around him. Like people will get used to it. That's it. Maybe he's better than Jaylen Brown.
Hey, the Wizards are
You know,
stupid enough to do that.
As we've just learned, I think the main thing, the big takeaway from this process is that it's so frustrating. It's like we mocked that caller who called in last week, and I was like, oh, well, they would never make that Jaylen Brown trade. Now I can't make fun of people's trades anymore because there's always a GM out there stupid enough to make a bad trade.
But there's a lot of people that wanted Jaylen Brown for what's his face?
Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, like through the years, like Chris Dunn
Well, for
instead
this
of Jaylen Brown.
for
like,
this
oh.
particular return, I mean, there was people that wanted that.
That's why Brad Stevens is good at his job, and other people are not running the Celtics.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, well, look, Chris Forsberg is kind enough to be in studio with us. We have more from him as we will get into that, and I will figure out why I can never remember the name of Anthony Davis. Why I always want to call him Carl Anthony Towns. Like I have this block in my brain.
Carl Anthony Davis, that would be good.
Yeah, like I always think Carl Anthony Towns. 100%. Anthony Davis. Did they go to the same college? Did they both go to Kentucky?
Yes, they did.
All right, so
Yes,
at least
they did.
there's a little
There you
bit.
go.
At least there's like a reason. Sometimes I can't think of things and I go, why?
Along with Ennis Freedom.
You went to Kentucky?
My guy.
That's right. All right, he was the huge guest of the Lou Holtz podcast. All right, we will be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Whether you're riding with the Chiefs or the Eagles, FanDuel is another.
All right, so we got Chris Forsberg from NBC Sports Boston in studio. We are Toucher and Hardy. Chris, the trade deadline is tomorrow, and a lot of big names are swirling around that deadline. Names like Kevin Durant. I've heard LeBron James. There are certainly, obviously, the Miami situation going on. What do you think is realistic? Do you think there will be some blockbuster?
Yeah, I do think there will be. Like if you're Phoenix and you just kind of realize like that's kind of stuck in the mud and you kicked around the Jimmy Butler thing, and if that's not going to happen, I think you do have to at least explore the Durant trade, and that's got to be tough. Same deal. Like new owner was probably hoping that bringing in a big name and spending a lot of money would get them back on track. It hasn't happened, and so you got to do something there. Either go all in on a short-term window, or at least move it for more assets. The Golden State rumors are pretty perpetual. I thought the interesting one is like people think Houston might be in the mix. Ime did coach Kevin Durant in Brooklyn. They've been pretty steadfast that they're not going to trade young pieces to kind of chase it this year when they might not be ready. But you added Durant. Like, that's super intriguing. And then we'll see what happens with Butler.
What do you think it would be like if Durant went back to Golden State?
It certainly puts them in the mix. What's weird is that team has come out and like kind of publicly said, don't give up all the rest of the assets we have because it would take catching lightning in a bottle again. Now, Durant changed the equation more than your normal, like more than Jimmy Butler would, obviously. But are you gutting everything just to chase one more when you probably should be pretty satisfied that 22 you got that one? But undeniably, again, it goes back to like being selfish. First we were saying don't do this, don't like tear up the future, and then Draymond came out the other day and was like, well, you only get so many years of Steph Curry, and obviously Draymond's window is shortening now, and so I do think it would add some intrigue because you have a team that knows how to win, and now you're adding a guy that has won too with them. The chemistry would be pretty quick. Sometimes learning that on the fly is tough. I just think it would be way more interesting because I think like Houston is a fun young team, and like adding Kevin Durant to that would be.
It seems like, and look, these guys have their legacies intact. Steph Curry especially, and even Kevin Durant, but if he were to go there and they were to give it another shot and they fall not just short but fall flat, which is a real possibility, they just don't have it anymore, that hurts them a little bit in terms of how they're going to be perceived later on. And again, I don't feel that way about Curry in the overall. He's going to go down as the greatest shooter that a lot of people have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And Durant is Kevin Durant. He's going to be fine. But when you take a big swing like that of one more time with these three guys and they just kind of fizzle out, it's gonna leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
The counter argument would be they might fizzle out anyway, right? Like they might still be a mid seed, might get bounced by,
but without Kevin Durant,
right? And so
I'm not talking about the Warriors team. I'm talking about those two guys specifically, and Draymond Green to it.
I guess the question becomes is if they don't make the move and you fizzle, does the conversation be, man, if they just kind of like, what are they doing? This was the last hope. They should have gone for it. It just comes down to what you'd have to spend, and maybe it is prohibitive. But if they're not going to pay Kuminga, and like they've got some pieces they can move, and if Phoenix is just desperate enough to do a deal, I mean, again, you just got to consider it because West feels a little bit open. I mean, like Oklahoma City might still be 1 year away. It's all risk. It's all all. Do you think that in the next 3 years, given the way the Rockets, Thunder are trending, that you have a chance, and that if Minnesota ever...
It's just over 7 games. I keep thinking back to that OKC Celtics game, and it's like it feels less open when you think back on that game.
And when they get back, Chet, we'll find out just like where they're. Are they way ahead of everybody, or are they just like... Are they just being a good regular season team?
All right. You are part of a hour-long trade deadline show tomorrow. Are you going to have anything to talk about Celtics-wise for that hour?
So the great thing is it's just Celtics post-up. It's our post post game show.
Uh-huh.
And like we've kind of we'll be it'll be deadline centric if they do something, and maybe it won't be if it.
Are they going to do anything tomorrow?
You know what? I'm less. I would say it like this. Didn't think there was a great likelihood they were going to do something in the first place. I think as they start to maybe show some positive signs, there's less inclination to do something. Again, so much of the heavy lifting can be done over the summer. And do you roll the dice with a midseason move when you feel pretty confident that if you do figure it out, if you do find that mojo, you're probably the favorite? So could they do some tinkering on the back end? They have an open roster spot. You have very limited in the contracts you can trade. You can't aggregate contracts, so you can't like. Back in the past, you would combine Jaden Springer and somebody and go get a $9 million player, or you'd pay people to take Jaden Springer's contract. You can't do that anymore when you're on the second apron. So I just think they're going to look at it and say, we can probably add someone on the buyout market. So unless there's a good deal to be had, if the Sixers want to get foolish and move Yabusele for a second-round pick or like something like that, I don't know. There's just not a lot of names out there that are minimum contracts that I feel like they could even give a team draft capital to go get.
And why would they? You know,
for a 13th man, right? You know?
Yeah, like why would you even disrupt anything?
The only reason you would is because they have been wildly inconsistent for 2 months until the last 4 games. And it just felt during those 2 months, yeah, you could say, okay, they're just treading water, they're in neutral, they're waiting for the games count, but they didn't play defense for long periods of time. Something is different this year that wasn't there last year.
Okay, did last night change your mind at all? Like, I know I'm not a big like one game, and I ride the roller coaster on our program because it's fun.
Well, the Cleveland game on the road against Cleveland.
No, last night was a quality win,
that was a big
but
win.
that stands out. I mean, you barely escaped New Orleans, who lost one of their best players in the first half. I mean, there's been a lot of that over the last 2 months. Clippers game, yeah. I mean,
so let's do the exercise. If you were looking to improve this team, and it wasn't just like a 13th man on the bench, and you're not trading like a starter, who would you trade to upgrade the team? Like who with even minimal value could you trade?
Invariably, it comes down to, and really your only options are to trade Jaden Springer because he makes $4 million, which counts because of the luxury tax and like the steps. You're going to pay like more like $16 million for his contract overall. You still have to bring back a minimum salary or somewhere below $4 million. So like there's just not a lot of options to it. Is that player any better? You know, like, okay, you start going through the names that are somewhere between minimum and $4 million. It's like Walker Kessler in Utah, who like Luke Cornett has been great. I don't understand the fascination with that potential. And then, you know, Kevin Love, I don't even know if he's healthy. Like,
I didn't even know Kevin Love still played.
Right. Well, actually, his Instagram has been on fire. He's been like, you know, making fun of the Jimmy Butler situation, and it's the best thing coming out of Miami lately.
What is he making fun of Miami or making fun of Jimmy Butler?
Like pretty much more so like Jimmy, and like he uses like movie scenes as like to sort of narrate what is happening and the twists and turns in the saga. But he's really good at it, and like go check out his Instagram page.
And he's an active NBA player.
Yeah, right. Like,
where does Kevin Love play now?
He's in Miami still.
Yeah, he's right there. He's making.
So
fun of
he's
his own
in Miami and making fun of his own team.
Yeah.
Yes.
He doesn't seem so into it then.
No,
no, he's just he has his money. You're saying.
I mean, he's there, but he's not really there. If you know what I'm saying.
But so those are the conversations that come back to is so I mean some of the names that we've thrown out there like Torrey Craig just got waived in Chicago. You could literally just go sign.
Yeah, these are all just
Javonte
nobodies.
Green. Like
oh my God, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Like, he's really. This was. I mean, it's a scene from Training Day when Denzel was like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?" And this is Jimmy immediately after hearing he wasn't in the starting lineup, and it's I'm sure explicit. I mean, this is funny. I mean, for meme usage, it's pretty funny.
And also for a guy that's currently on the team and having to deal with both Pat Riley and Jimmy Butler. This is it's an interesting thing.
It's more needling Jimmy, who I think he understands probably isn't coming back, and who's probably if you're on that team, you're like, man, this is just such a distraction, and like he's doing it in a fun way where Riley's probably like, Kev, I like that one.
So is Jimmy Butler is he hurting his legacy or his value right now by doing this?
What legacy?
I'm just gonna say, people pretty much know who Jimmy Butler is.
Yeah, like-
he's fired his way off.
Well, no,
of
I
three
know.
different
Well,
teams.
listen, I know the stories in Minnesota and all of that stuff.
Philadelphia had him 1 year and couldn't wait to get rid of him.
Yeah, I
mean,
know.
it's-
But what I'm saying is that he is like a gamer in the playoffs, and he is someone like that. Is this? I shouldn't say so much legacy. Is his trade value?
No, there's always a team dumb enough who thinks like we just need that one more piece, and someone will be willing to pay a ransom to get him.
He's doing his best to kill any and all deals. Remember, he said he wouldn't go to Memphis, where if he went, Memphis would be a threat to win it all.
Well, he says he's basically saying he only wants to go to Phoenix.
Yeah,
Like-
Golden State
like
is
Golden
very interested, and he's like, nope, not signing a contract extension.
Which
with
is
you
so
guys.
odd. Like that, why wouldn't you want to go to? Like, what difference does it make to you at this point in the year?
Again, the players in the NBA hold so much power right now. Even when De'Aaron Fox came out and said, "Hey, I want to trade," you knew he was going to end up in San Antonio. Like,
So they just traded him to San Antonio.
No, I know, but he's a young player. Like if I'm Jimmy Butler and I'm worth, a billion, $100 million more, $400 million, $500 million. He's making $40 million. What does it matter to me where I am?
Yeah.
Like if it's on the court, it matters. Like, but if I go to Golden State, I get to play with these guys. There's a chance that we win a title. That all of this. What is it? A geographic reason? Like what do you care? Your life. Get a chauffeur. Rent a 18-bedroom house. Like, what's it to you?
I think we'll eventually get to that point when something will happen. Either Durant gets traded from Phoenix and he's like, well, I don't want Phoenix anymore, and then
Right.
he'll open up to other options, or he just waits to the very last minute and goes, okay, fine, I'll go to Memphis, or pick whatever the best option is out there that they can say is a potential. And again, that's the power they have. Where I don't feel bad for Miami because whatever they deserve a little strife.
They were lucky they got Jimmy, who behaved all of those
Yeah,
years.
that's fair. And but I do feel bad in the sense of they're probably they want to get rid of this headache. They're willing to now take less than they should probably get for him. But the best outcome would be if everything fizzled, if every other team started making moves and then he had to go back, and they have to cross that bridge of do you let him play? Do you just keep suspending him? He's definitely going to do something.
Pat Riley is vindictive. You keep Pat Riley suspend him for the rest of the
But
season.
you have to have
just prove a
cause,
point.
and
so of course. Well, he left practice and they suspended him for 5 games.
No. But he's got to do something like that. So if he
Yeah.
shows up to practice, then you got to get video from practice and video from games,
Sure.
like he did
It's
with
gotta
the
be
league
amazing.
earlier.
I would love to be in on the arbitration hearing that happens afterward, where he's because he wants all his money back, so he protests it with the league and the Players Association, and then they end up actually. I think last time they did this, they ended up giving him some money back. But I don't know. The drama would be fantastic.
Well, you heard that Pat Riley gave the league,
the letter.
and also evidence of him, in games, what he was using as evidence. I mean, it's pretty funny.
Did you see the thing where Jimmy was at a Starbucks or whatever, and his card got declined, and he was like, "Well, I'm unemployed right now."
No.
So I like that. I like that everyone seems to be having fun with it, despite the fact that it is an absolute cluster down there. And
Well, listen, they weren't going to win anything anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, so who cares? All right, look, it's a lot of fun. Chris Forsberg from NBC Sports Boston, thank you so much for the time, sir. Where are you headed now?
Good question. Costco, maybe?
Yeah, they don't have that around you?
Do you need
No.
anything, or are you just browsing?
So I don't even have the membership. I asked my mom, and she said I have. I guess the
You
people.
can't go in.
Well, I know. So
You
I have
can't even go in. You have to have the membership to go in the
I
store.
literally have to sign up now when I leave, but they don't open until 10, so I have some time. Which is another why? What store doesn't why are they not open until 10 a.m.?
I don't know. Why does Chipotle open at 10:45? And then I'll tell you, if you get in there at 10:45,
yeah,
they're not ready.
No,
They're not
they're
ready
in
for you.
no hurry. They're looking at you like you a-hole.
What are you doing there at 10:45 anyway, though?
That's when I would eat.
That's when we eat lunch.
That's fair.
Panda Express 10:30.
Really?
That's a lot at lunchtime. A Panda
No.
Express.
You get the bowl. You just get some of the chow mein and chicken.
Okay.
Or rice and chicken.
Sure.
It's
The
a
golf
lot
stuff
of
at Costco is
sodium,
amazing, right?
A lot of sodium.
The golf stuff at Costco, amazing. Have you played the Kirkland stuff?
So I hear. No, I know people do dig the Kirkland glove and the golf ball and even the clubs.
The wedge set looks intriguing.
Okay.
Then the video games I need to go check out. The arcade cabinets, that's my other.
One-ups, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah, I've got a golden tee in my basement.
So do
Yeah,
I.
you play
Golden Tee?
Do you
Yeah.
play? You played it real hard for the 3 weeks and then didn't touch it for a year.
You know what? It gets a lot of usage. Even the kids, they play the bowling. So I
Alright.
feel like I get some value out of that one.
All right.
All right. Well, it's been an education on what's going on at Costco and how you are like literally.
Send me a membership.
You're literally trying to kill the day.
I mean, I got some time.
Yeah. When do you need to be in town?
I don't. I came just for you guys today.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that!
so you could just skedaddle home. I thought you had time to kill before you had to go to Brighton
No,
or the garden.
normally I go and do like other stuff. Like I try to maximize my adventure in. But no, I missed y'all. I was zooming last week.
All
so
right, I'll give you all the spas around here. Don't
Thank you.
worry.
All right,
I'll make it worth your while. All right, very good. Thank you, Chris Forsberg. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub. Hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
We interrupt this program for breaking news.
Deep into the weeds with this golf talk. Chris has got nowhere to go. You can
Talk.
Two hens clacking
Man.
away.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah. Everyone loves Chris Forsberg. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you.
See you later, Chris.
I'm not in love with the mustache, though.
I think it's nice. Chris,
Nah,
don't
you're
listen to
good.
anyone.
Don't listen to
Chris,
him.
you do you.
Fine.
You do you. The bathhouses will love it. All right, so here's the deal. What do we have here? This is the news. We have one news story. Do you need to set it up, or do I just go?
It is a news story that Adam 12 found specifically for you because you will be triggered.
Oh, well, this is always exciting. But get me all upset. All right, here we go.
Rusty rails and crumbling concrete becoming familiar sights on the 74-year-old Tobin Bridge. Do you drive over it?
No, I don't.
Why?
Good for you, girl. Good for you. The bridge is not so much my concern. I feel I could survive falling off the bridge.
You do?
I don't know. It doesn't
I
scare
don't
me,
see that
though.
happening.
But the tunnels,
Ah.
that's where the real phobia kicks in. I don't like those tunnels at all. I don't mind as much if I'm not driving. For some reason, having control of the vehicle is very disturbing to me. I'd much rather be a passenger. Isn't that odd?
Yes.
It shows so
It's the
little
exact
self-esteem.
opposite for everybody else.
It speaks to
Very
your
odd.
beta personality.
It really does. It's maybe that's why I'm a cuckold. Who knows?
A cuckold?
A cuckold? I didn't even mean to do it. Cuckold?
Rusty rails and crumbling concrete becoming familiar sights on the 74-year-old Tobin Bridge. Do you drive over it?
No, I don't.
Why?
I'm afraid of it. I go around.
Construction to maintain the aging bridge has been ongoing for years, while state officials are looking for future alternatives. At a public meeting like this one that took place yesterday, MassDOT project manager Patrick Snyder told the public a tunnel replacing the bridge has not been eliminated.
What the hell is going? Let's be serious here. Okay, how is repairing a bridge more difficult than going underwater and building a tunnel under the water?
Because there's so many benefits to the tunnel that the bridge does not
Of engineering that they're able to do it, but wouldn't you just fix the bridge? And isn't the Tobin Bridge what they always show whenever they show Boston?
No, that's the Zakim.
No, that's the
Zakim
Zakim
Bridge.
Wow. Okay,
Whoa.
That was
in stereo.
double stereo there.
Yeah, but here's the
that
thing
shows
is,
how much I'm around there.
is the guy I'm buddies with who does contracting work, he likes to build tunnels.
All
and the
right,
guy that
hippie.
he's buddies with likes to take down bridges. So that's where the conversation
You're saying
is.
it's cronyism. Cronyism.
That never happens in Massachusetts.
That's right.
I'm afraid of it.
Yeah. Good for you, lady. You're smart. How long do you think it takes to make a tunnel? Honestly, a decade?
Yeah, that's about. It was longer here.
So
when
the
I made
big,
one.
how long did the big dig go on for? Because it was over by the time I got here.
70 years.
Yes, at least 15.
John, was it 15? Oh, there was in
15.
between 15 and
15, and we got the guy in charge of the books. Turned out he cooked all of them. He got fired. There's no danger at all leaving the government here in charge of building a tunnel like that.
But in all seriousness, the big dig was a success. I mean, now in retrospect, a success. I mean, the city is better for it. I don't know about the process or anything that was.
Remember, they leveraged.
You have to love it. There's a bunch of grass.
No, but they leveraged all the debt against the T, and that's what's put the T. Like the legacy. I understand what you're saying, Fred. Yes, from an infrastructure perspective, you're absolutely right. But
just
the
a
legacy,
beauty perspective.
But the legacy of it. Oh, absolutely. I love the Greenway. The legacy of the Big Dig though has messed up so many things, and including the MBTA.
Has it affected Walden Pond?
No, it hasn't. Thankfully.
Well, as long as that.
Do you know what the crazy thing was? Like, if you go back far enough, when there was still the elevated expressway going through, every single street demanded they had an exit ramp and an on-ramp.
Oh, yeah. No, that was fun, too. Yeah.
So that was...
Traffic
and
on
this
the
was-
elevated was a nightmare 24 hours a day.
I mean, think of that
The
now.
artery
like
was a mess.
Trying to drive through there with an
it was
exit
awful.
every
It was
200
awful.
yards.
Awful.
In elevate, that's just a bridge in disguise. Those elevated highways, those are terrifying too. And being trapped on them, that's no fun.
See,
Spaghetti Junction in Atlanta. Go look at that. It's about. I'm not lying.
God.
That might be 150
I've been through there. I know what you're talking about.
Those things are terrifying. And look, I'll drive over a bridge. Of course, I'll do it. But you give me a choice between a bridge and a tunnel, I'll take the tunnel every day.
Interesting. You're like a mole person.
The Bourne Bridge, not a fan. Don't care for it.
Adam.
Yes.
I don't know. There's 16 soda cans on a bridge or in a tunnel. Where are you going?
I don't know, man. I think it'd probably be a little easier to get them out of the tunnel, but 16 soda cans? Are they $5 deposit?
It's not so much the money, but what you're doing for the world.
Yes. Well, I suppose I would probably, you know what? Let's go with the bridge because they could fall off the bridge into the water, and that's not good for the sea life.
Not everything is an attack on your economic status. Sometimes it's just your propensity to pick up garbage. Is what
There's a rattlesnake in between you and those cans. What do you do?
I go around.
He fights that rattlesnake, but then humanely.
From planning, though it's unclear where exactly that potential tunnel would go on the stretch of the Mystic River between Chelsea and Charlestown.
So you can't build it under the existing bridge, and we have, a nice, beautiful community here. So we're wondering what that would entail.
On the Chelsea side of the bridge, residents there are skeptical about the potential project.
Got something that's proven. Put the money in it. You're going to start another big dig project?
I would like to see that bridge somehow maintained.
But others optimistic about what the investment could mean for the future.
The Tobin cuts through a large part of Chelsea Square and downtown Chelsea, so removing this, elevated highway would be a good thing.
You know
Everybody's going to move there.
I'm never going to go over that bridge or a tunnel, so they can do whatever they want.
Well,
when the hell am I going to go over that bridge?
If you have a need for Saugus wings and you leave, from Boston, you have to go. That's the way to get to Route 1.
If I'm going to Saugus, though, I don't go over the Tobin Bridge.
From Boston, you do.
No, but I don't.
No.
I'm talking about the only important thing here.
Oh, I see.
It's my convenience and what I do.
You take the little bridge over, you get over into Cambridge, and then kind of weave your way over. Like through Somerville.
It seems
like
I go through a tunnel when I go to Saugus. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't go through Charlestown or Chelsea. I can tell you that much to get there. That's Route what? Route 1.
1.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've ever. I haven't been Charlestown.
How did you get to Carl's Sausage Kitchen when they were still open?
I flew, which is a descent got me to fly.
How did you get to the Revere?
Revere
Cinema.
When Thornton lived in Charlestown. That's the last time that I went to Charlestown.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long, long time ago.
Yes.
In Chelsea, I don't know if I've ever been in Chelsea.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the bridge.
All right. Well, this doesn't affect me, so they can do whatever they want.
Okay.
It's not like they can raise taxes any higher.
Want to bet?
There's no way that my taxes could be any higher than they are right now.
Well, you never know with Newton. It's a wild card.
I'm not saying Newton couldn't raise them. I'm saying the state tax
Massachusetts.
couldn't raise them anymore.
Depends.
I don't.
Just wait till they build this new tunnel.
That does specifically. It's a terrible tax.
Build the
program.
tunnel for that woman so she doesn't have to go around. I don't know how you go around a bridge.
Well, I have a question.
That part was never explained.
You go out to Worcester and take a right.
I've damaged this. I damaged this. I've gone over this in my head. The Outer Banks.
Yes.
Tunnel, bridge, tunnel, bridge, tunnel, bridge, tunnel, bridge. Okay? I'll let the laugh thing. I'll let the joke sit. I didn't know that. It didn't strike me like it struck you.
To go around, you would have to go. Wesley. Well, go left.
Sure. Go ahead, Fred. Sorry.
Just get on 495.
Exactly.
All right. So look, I got to go to Grodd today. It's all garbage. Okay. So if you would you take the tunnel, bridge, or would you add 45 minutes to your trip to go around it?
I'd probably go tunnel, bridge.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's what you got to keep in mind. Once you make that decision, the decision has been made.
Right.
So, once you hit that first tunnel, there's no getting out of it at that point. Mm-hmm. And that is the moment, ladies and gentlemen, where I feel the panic.
This is why you can't choose love either. You just got to choose the tunnel.
Hey, look, all I want to do is end racism, and I don't see it happening without that being on the field. So there you go. All right, we'll be back. Billy Jaffe's here. I saw him with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We will have him in just a moment.
Round, round, get around.
I go around.
Yeah, get around.
Making fun of this lady. She's right.
Around.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Joe Mazzulla, he scored 20 points while making 6 3-point shots.
When he plays that way, we're a completely different team. So it's important that he keeps that because of his ability to impact the game on both ends of the floor. That's the Derek that is that's who he is. The late game shot making, the ability to make plays. That's who he is for us, and we got to continue to fight to make sure he keeps that belief and confidence.
Celtics have now won 4 in a row for the first time since the day after Thanksgiving. They're back home to play Dallas tomorrow night. Speaking of which, Anthony Davis told the media before their game last night is a possibility he plays his first game for the Mavericks in Boston. The Sixers, by the way, traded Caleb Martin to the Mavericks yesterday as well. The trade deadline arrives in just over 24 hours. ESPN is reporting that after trading Luka Doncic and seeing some fans cancel season tickets for next year as a result, the Dallas Mavericks are offering those fans full refunds. The Bruins put together a solid win last night. They beat Minnesota 3-0 at TD Garden. Jeremy Swayman, 35 saves in net for the shutout. And the Bruins are right back at it tonight in New York against the Rangers. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, keeping drains flowing for homes and businesses in the greater Boston area since 1976. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score to the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Half Toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Convincing fashion the first 3 games.
11-3.
Right.
As here's another shot in on Swayman, who cradles it. And the officials are going to let him drop it back into play and let the horn sound on a 3-0 shutout of the Minnesota Wild.
The Bruins won yesterday. We are Toucher and Hardy. And our coverage of Super Bowl 59 is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Watch us on YouTube. And then have at us in the comments. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Subscribe to it if you would, please, on YouTube. I'm interested with this. Dan, go ahead.
Hey, gentlemen. Fred, listen, I love the show. Love you. I think you're really funny. But as you admit, you're no comedian. You're more of a humorist.
Yeah.
But we have a really big problem with the show.
What's that?
Wallach especially, but Hardy's approaching this territory. They're the Jackie Martling of your show. They laugh at everything you say. You're not that funny. You're funny. You're just not that funny. Nobody's so funny that everything one says has to be followed by laughter.
Well, that would be a Robin.
I don't know if you hear it.
Jackie laughed at his own jokes, right? Like Jackie would scream if it was his own jokes.
Correct. But
so it would be more of a Robin situation.
I think I do a pretty good job of balance. I think I do a
Hardy
pretty good
doesn't
job.
laugh that much. John laughs a lot, but Hardy doesn't laugh that much.
Just having fun, man. Why are you killing that? I'm just having fun.
I'm not killing it. It's just there's so much brown on each of your noses for Fred. It's a little ridiculous.
No,
so,
I do a pretty good
anyhow.
job of playing the role of Robin, where I'll laugh occasionally, and then there are huge sections where I just tune him out, and I have no idea what he says over a
You
minute
have to
or
admit,
two.
in terms of the dynamic on the show, though, Hardy makes fun of me, which is I make fun of him, which is a
but
different
you're funny,
dynamic.
and Hardy's not.
Oh, Hardy's funny. I don't
that's
believe
just
that.
mean spirit.
Dan, I don't believe that. I think Hardy's
Sorry,
funny.
you feel
You're
that
better
way,
than
Dan.
that.
All right. Sorry, gentlemen. Anyway, have a great morning.
All right, Dan. I thought the Jackie Martling, I thought he was going to give you credit for the joke.
Apparently not.
And that you become the joke man.
And that was just one that landed. I was so proud of myself. I couldn't help it.
To know, it landed with Hardy. I didn't get it. But I thought it was all right. But the thing said, Wallach
a little bit.
Just so you know what it said on the screen, it said, and it's not Nick's fault, it's just why I took the call.
Yeah.
It said, Wallach has become the Jackie Martling of the show.
Oh.
But Jackie, it's funny listening to old Stearns because you can tell when Howard would say a joke and then you would hear, like that scream.
Well, it was probably one that Jackie wrote.
No, that's what I'm saying.
and
is
it
that
happened to
Jackie,
him.
like you could tell the ones that Jackie wrote, which is does any of, but maybe Rick Dees, but has anyone else in radio had someone off mic basically writing jokes for them?
Like in real time like that. I
Like
can't
in
think
real
of another
time? I mean, it's a
example.
brilliant
Yeah.
idea.
Lander used to prefer that.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that right? I think-
Yeah, that's true.
I could never ask someone, and Stern's way better than all of you, but I could never ask someone to just not tell the joke themselves, to give me the joke.
Mm-hmm.
in real time.
Right.
Look, I'm feeling under pressure now because Dan doesn't like me and Wallach, and I'm feeling off anyway.
But he also said I'm not that funny.
Well,
he said I'm funny, but not that funny. I'm a humorist, not a stand-up. And I don't write my material, so he is correct.
But I'm also thrown off by the fact that Billy Jaffe just beat me up in the hallway.
Well, you earned that beating.
I did not.
You started the whole thing. I
really-
was present. You
Fred,
started it.
I'm listening.
He manhandled me in a way where had he done it to you, you would have been very uncomfortable and maybe even in traction afterward. He gave me the business to a degree that I did not appreciate. He grabbed and pulled and hurt my neck and other things.
I wish I remembered all this.
And gave me the business like up under the rib cage.
That I did.
And it's not I don't feel good.
Well,
now I don't,
But
now
you're
I
in
don't
shape
feel good.
because of pickleball, I thought.
If you don't feel safe, that's true.
Now, that's funny.
Yeah, you're not skating
that was
around
worth
in circles.
laughing at. That was good.
Billy's big workout of figure skating. All right, so
Little stick and puck.
Yeah.
that he's so proud of.
all right,
God.
Billy is much stronger than me, but
He didn't look like it. Is the weird thing. He
But-
just looks like a dude.
no, he's super strong. He's like a natural strong guy. But how much you weigh?
Oh, I don't 225, 227.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you could throw me around.
Yeah.
I'm at 190 right now.
Yeah,
So
you got
and
50 pounds on me.
I'm not happy about it.
you're not. No, you're not fat though. You know that. You're not fat. You're like
No,
a big
he's-
strong guy.
he's got
you
that
got
big
a lot of
horse
natural
ass.
muscle.
It's I know.
You and Nick should get into
big-
OnlyFans.
But Billy's got the round, muscular mule ass where Nick's is.
well, it's like a Raggedy Ann and Andy situation. You guys should start an OnlyFans.
Does it pay well?
For female Wallachs. Does it pay well? Apparently it can pay you $600 million a year or something.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You have some virgin lady.
You
that's
look
on
into
OnlyFans.
that, Billy. I'm sure the people at Nesson be psyched for you to do that.
Listen, it's his body. All right, so
What's
Billy,
going on, guys?
not much. Look,
I heard you at 632.
right. So was that the best Swayman's played in your opinion this year? I mean,
There's a couple, but he was right up there. Absolutely, he was great.
Is it
was-
odd for a starting goaltender to not have a shutout until February?
The team in front of him hasn't been great either. I guarantee he'd love to have had 2 or 3 before that
I would
one.
think.
Yeah, he was locked in, man. He was. We talked about it post game and his focus. He was reading plays real well. Anticipation excellent. Because of that, I felt his body control, rebound control was awesome. Joe Sacco, the coach, interim head coach, talked about that too. So, Wallach, you're accurate. The first 10 minutes weren't.
That was the only
sharp.
10 minutes of the game that I really paid attention to. They didn't have a shot.
Well, once they knew you turned off, they turned it
sure
on.
that's what it was.
And they were really good after that. They had one shot. It was like I remember looking at the 9:58 remaining on the clock, and they were being outshot 5-1. And listen, Ottawa thrashed Minnesota the game before 6-0. So you knew Minnesota was going to at least they better come out, breathing fire. And I thought they did. And it was physical the first few minutes. I was actually talking to the back with the producer. And I'm like, boy, these teams are giving to each other, especially Minnie. They're trying to be real physical. Boston matched it. They held on. They got their legs, and then they played really well. A very good overall team effort. Cliche 101, but it was just a good overall team effort last night.
I would have watched the first 10 minutes of the game, but I missed those particular 10 minutes because my daughter was busy watching 3 guys at a kitchen table talking while they filmed themselves on YouTube. And then I had to have an argument with her for 10 minutes about putting on My Job. That was an interesting discussion.
Was it a live conversation? Or?
No, it was taped as the day is long. What were they talking about?
Nothing.
Just shooting the breeze.
They'll sit there and just watch people doing
amazing.
practically nothing.
It's amazing.
My kids do the same thing.
And it's not like things are moving forward or like there's like different topics.
Oh, is there good editing in it?
There's no editing in it.
Thank you.
There's absolutely no editing in it.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. You want to talk about Howard Stern? He had a good point. He's like, I had to go cut commercials for 6 hours, and now the Octua girl has got a microphone in front of her.
Right.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Now. All right. So, look.
Patra was good last night again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
Fred
know.
doesn't want to talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to break down the game for 10 minutes.
I'm just saying it's 2 games in a row where he's had 2 points in each game.
Yeah. So, I think we've talked about that before. Patra's up now. He's going to be he's a National Hockey League player. What does this mean for the Bruins? going into this Four Nations thing. It's such a late trade deadline this year.
Well, but I've said it on your show. I've said it on the Saturday show with Ty. And there's really 2 trade deadlines this year. We've already seen 4 big trades in the NHL. By the way, and I had this clarified. I talked to an executive yesterday. There's actually no trade freeze. You can still trade players during the Four Nations event during that time, but you can't move players down, up and down. So if there's a player that's up, and I think it's like Feb 11th, whatever your last game is. So like the Bruins' last game is Saturday. I think they have until midnight that night to decide on if they're going to send a player back down to the American League.
So
if not, they get a 9-day, 10-day kind of vacation
But
up
the
top.
inability to do that is going to put the brakes on some trades, though, because oftentimes those transactions will happen like in tandem with trades too. Like guys will.
Well, but teams will decide who they're going to move down. I mean, if you can send a guy down, then they're going to send him down before the before the Four Nations event. But you can still make trades over that time. Players can still be traded during the Four Nations face-off 10 days. They can.
You just can't be. If you're on a 2-way contract, you can't be moved down.
They have to make the decision before
Right.
I think it's the end of the day of your last game. Some teams have Saturday, I believe. Some teams have Sunday, and then people get going.
What is the belief?
Bruins have 2 games left before that, tonight and then Saturday.
I'll just ask you your belief
on what.
But you on the question I'm about to ask you
Okay.
is that your belief in this team right now? Because
they're in it, man. My belief is it's going to be tough. It's look at the amount of teams that they're competing with.
I mean, the Red Wings now.
Unbelievable,
But
right?
they're
Todd
not good,
McClellan
right?
comes in and changes things there, and they've got the bump still. Now, we've seen a lot of this happen before, Freddie, where teams get this run going, and then right before trade deadline in March, when things get tough, you start seeing some teams tail off. Is it their goaltending? Is it their defense? Well, the Bruins, because of their consistently inconsistent play this year, they're right there with this gaggle of teams. It's about 7 teams. Now, do you believe, rhetorically asking, that Ottawa, that Detroit can remain in the mix, that Columbus can remain in the mix? I mean, Columbus is playing, they had the tragedy at the beginning of the year with Johnny Gaudreau and his brother, the awful situation. But in some ways, it feels like that it's given them a galvanizing purpose, and they've played with this real intensity and this passion, and it's hard not to root for them. But I don't know if I believe in their goaltender. His name's Elvis Merzlikins. Enough come playoff run time. But still, you're still talking about probably 4 teams the Bruins are going to be battling with. So I'm going to say right now, it's going to be tough because until they prove again that they can go on they can't go just above 500. They're going to have to go in the 6 to 650 kind of run, winning 6 out of 10 or whatever to be a legit playoff contender.
So this is going to sound really pedestrian, but what is the tradition with teams? Tradition's not the thing. What do teams stand pat at the deadline? Just stand pat, not do anything.
Do something? Yeah, sure. But there's going to be. But meanwhile, I think using Columbus, I think they're going to make a move. They're not going to do something crazy. You remember Donnie Waddell? He was the GM in Atlanta. You remember him? Okay, he's now. You remember him well, and he's the GM in Columbus, and he loves making trades. Now he'll reward this team, but he's not going to He's not going to give up 2 first-round picks and whatever for a rental. But he'll look to make a trade to add somebody and give up a decent draft pick.
But if my question is, if the Bruins just stood pat and really didn't do anything of any consequence, either buying or selling, is that kind of a failure in the organization, given where the team is now? Do you have to make a decision?
They're going to have to look there. I think what they're going to do is they're going to say, where are we at contractually with a couple of guys, and that's where they're going to have to make a decision. If they feel like if they're, are they going to sign certain guys? Do they feel like they can get more for a certain player? I'd be surprised if they didn't do a little something either way. I think these next 2 games, Fred, are big. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it sure feels like they're pretty darn big. If you win these next 2 games and you're feeling okay, again, I said this last week on your show, I don't see them making a huge trade. Even if they feel like they're going to make the playoffs, do I see them tweaking and adding? I think I could see that.
You could see them adding.
For a middle, but I could see that. This is kind of lame because I'm kind of teetering, but if they lose the next couple and they're not feeling great and they don't have certain guys maybe they don't.
Well,
feel
because
they're gonna
Trent
sign-
Frederick has an expiring contract,
Yep.
and he's a valuable piece. Like I saw a ranking of possible trade people. being-
Absolutely.
players being
His
traded,
co- his
and he was
combi-
fifth.
Yeah.
Now would be a good time for him to get hot. He scored a goal last night.
Beautiful goal last night. And, he's that kind of player that you look at and you're like, man, there aren't many players that possess the overall package that he does. But even he would say he would have loved to be producing more offensively this year after a 40-point year last year. So to your point, there's a question there. Geekie is having a great year, but he's a restricted free agent for one more year. So I think he's earned an opportunity to stay here. I do. He's developed nice chemistry. But the question again is, who absolutely knows what some team out there is going to offer, and that's where I think you listen to everything.
Okay, I want you to stay. I don't want to really even talk about the Bruins. I want to talk about hockey with you, though. I want to talk to you about something. I'm not going to talk about it with you off the air. It's not a gotcha. It's about a hockey player and about hockey in general, the life.
I know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, it's nothing bad. It's just about. It's about. I'm reading a book.
Yeah,
and it's about this guy.
You want to stick around for this, Billy?
Yeah, Billy.
I think you will find this interesting.
You stick around.
He's not. He wasn't planning on it.
Yeah, I mean,
You got somewhere to go?
I'll be okay. I can.
No, he's getting plenty of money. Don't you worry about Billy.
Plenty of money.
Billy, stay. Can you stay another break?
I'll stay another break.
All right, thank you, Billy.
Just for you. Got any food? Starved.
Oh, Jesus Christ. There's a kitchen downstairs.
There's some rolls in the kitchen.
What do you want? I'll order you up a little something. You want a little ham, egg, and cheese?
Oh, now you got Hardy.
You want a
giving
bacon,
stuff.
egg, and cheese?
No,
Are you happy?
What do you want?
Big Adam?
Let's go to break.
All right, very good. All right, we'll be right back.
No bacon, egg, and cheese?
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, Super Bowl 59.
Myers with a left hand, cocked. Orr fires a left hand, and now Myers comes back and lands one on the button. Orr starting to cover up a little bit. Now he fires some right hand. Myers still going with the left. These guys going toe-to-toe, a little off balance. Some equipment comes flying out of there. Myers down to one knee, hops right back up. He starts throwing left hands again, and he gets Orr late.
Yeah. So he's got a book called Painkillers, really, really good. And he is like our age, like around our age. He's a year older than me. He's 51, I think. And so like he played like kind of in an era that you are familiar with in the NHL. Okay. So Brant Myers was this like a tough guy. He was an enforcer. He didn't enjoy it. And he ended up having like a bunch of substance abuse problems, which he eventually got over. But in your experience with guys that fought, and I don't know if it's still not like that really anymore. How many of them hated it? Like hated fighting?
I know how many percentage-wise.
No, just like was it a common thing that
I would
guys
say
hated
that
it?
I would. Well, it was. I think they were kind of torn. Some of them, like George LaRocque. Remember that name?
Yeah. Well, that's who knocked him out of the game.
I mean, what a massive person, and became a very technically highly skilled fighter, right? And he never looked at fighting, from what I read and heard and was told about, as I love it, but it was his job. And so he became very technical with it. In fact, he teaches some young kids now how to do it who they're very few. And the Matt Rempe, who the Bruins might see tonight, 6'7", 240-pound kid who plays for the Rangers, trained with him over the summer. Point, like LaRocque, I don't think he would always say, "You want to go?" It was very polite almost. It wasn't. It was a means to an end, but I don't think he loved it, like had that lust for it. There were certain guys that just couldn't get enough of it because that was what it was. But when they were done, I think a lot of them, I don't know if regretted would be the right word, but said, "Look, I did what I had to do, and to make a living and to stay in the league." I think there were a lot of, like, I remember Stu Grimson, another massive man, along with Bob Probert and stuff. I mean, Stu was one of the nicest guys.
Well, that's the thing, is that all these guys were like
Jeff Odgers would tell me. By the way, Jeff Odgers, you remember Odgers?
Well, he was a punching bag, yeah.
But because he was not big and he was a wide open fighter. He was a prairie kid from Saskatchewan, played for the Bruins a bit, played for the Thrashers when we were there and everything. I remember having numerous talks with Odgie and how we would always talk about how hot. And that's actually in that era, Freddie, that wasn't uncommon.
Well, that's what Brant Myers was like a pretty good hockey player, and then he tried out for juniors.
Yeah.
And then they were like, he fought in juniors, and then that got people's attention, and then he had to fight every day. But it's like Bobby Robbins, Brant Myers, like these guys, like it tortured them.
It did, because they would worry about that in that era.
Not the physical pain so much as the embarrassment, and your job is on the line every time you fight.
Every time. And these guys in the days, and they kind of print them. The game notes packs, okay?
Yeah.
And some teams don't do it anymore, but guys would sit in the locker room and they would look at who are they going against, or they would figure out who is the new guy that was up. And you talk to a lot of these guys who fought repeatedly, and the Bruins have had so many of them, that there was some of them that were just matter of fact about it, and others, but especially like the 90s and 2000s early, where you saw guys coming into the league that were 6'5", 250 plus. I remember there was one guy, David Kochi. Remember, he got crushed by Char one time. I mean, who was bigger than him, right? And this was a mammoth human being as well. And it was, a lot of these guys struggled with it because, yes, they were saying, I'm going into this town. Who do I got to scrap? And then that town.
Well, it's interesting because the Brant Myers story, so he was on his third stage of the NHL substance abuse thing, which the next violation, he was getting P tested twice a week. The next violation, he's out for life. So he finally, 2 years, sober living, training. He's back up. Suter was his coach. I can't remember. Or Sutter was the coach. I can't remember.
Yep.
Sutter. And so Sutter, it's a preseason game, and he's finally back, and he's dressed up. It's a preseason game, and they're playing George LaRocque's team. And he's like, LaRocque hadn't played in the preseason up to that point, so he's like, I can't. All right, this is awesome. And then Suter comes up to him and goes, LaRocque's in the lineup tonight, and he said it was just like crushed him. He was like, oh, Jesus. And so he goes out, and right away, he gets on the ice. Laroque comes over the bench. It's face-off. Laroque goes, you want to go? He goes, no, can we just play? I'm getting my feet under me. Can we just play? And he goes, no. Like, we got to go. Like,
Code. I need this fight is what he's saying. I need this fight.
Right. And then he ended up smashing his orbital bone. And then he had to start wearing a visor because Laroque just, like, destroyed him. But it's interesting. And then also, like, the culture of juniors. Like, okay, so you played at Michigan. Did you play junior hockey?
No.
Okay, so you decided to play college hockey.
Right. Couldn't in that era. I'm not going to get off topic here because it's changed now. But in that era, you couldn't.
Right.
As of next year, you can go from U.S. hockey to junior CHL. It's called Canadian Junior Hockey League, which encompasses the 3 major junior leagues, and then come back. So that's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in our era.
Well, Myers stopped going to school after 9th grade, or grade 9, as he says.
Yeah, it's grade
Canadian wide. But he stopped. I mean, that's crazy.
That wasn't uncommon. A lot of those guys ended up, living with a billet family away from home. They'd go until they were 15 years old, 16. I mean, that maybe is a little extreme. A lot of them also graduated, but it wasn't uncommon. They're just playing hockey all the time.
Now, did you play pro hockey at all?
No.
Did you want to play?
Sure.
Okay, but there are leagues like
I played. Yeah.
Okay, so he plays in this. He gets kicked out of it, but he plays in this league in England.
Oh yeah, brutal. The British league. Yeah.
Yeah, the British league, and it's brutal. And he's like JV, and there's a player coach, and they're just like wasted all the time.
But they loved, and they still do, embrace the fighting aspect over there. Loved it. And so they brought over the battleships, the guys, the mega ships. They would say, hey, it's only 40-something games. Come over and play here. But yet you're fighting. And you know where else it got?
Well, they only went to go watch fighting, right?
Right. Well, and Russia for a long time, the KHL, it's better now. They would bring in, I remember old buddy of mine, Reed Simpson, who was a real tough guy played with the Blackhawks, a couple of other teams. Simmer went over there to play, and he would be on the bench, and the owners would come down. Literally, they would come down from the stands onto the bench, yelling at guys, threatening guys, and it's crazy. There's also a Quebec Senior League.
Well, that's
where he went there, Brant went there, and where guys would go up, and other guys would make a couple $100 a game, and the fighters would go there, and they'd get $1,000 a game cash. And they would go, and the places were sold out, 2,000, 3,000 people.
I don't think Brant. I think he decided not to go there because because the thing is he had smashed his orbital bone.
Yeah, why?
And he was like, I can't do this. Like, it's like so. What was it called again? What's the league?
Well, I call it the Quebec Senior League, but they've changed the name a few times. It's a semi-pro Quebec Senior League.
It's a senior league like thing that's in Canada where it's just mayhem.
Small towns, well-attended, heavily intoxicated fans. It's fun. Do you remember, obviously, the names Denny Lambert, Darcy Hordichuk, Garnet Exelby from Atlanta. Remember those guys?
Exelby,
Exelby was the nicest, sweetest guy. He played juniors, but he could have gone college, but not like tall, like 6'1", 6'2", but huge, like freezer type build. He had the switch that would just flip, and you'd go, where did that nicest guy in the world go? The story I always like to tell is Denny Lambert is he's the fighter for the Atlanta Thrashers, and this is kind of the culture of it. He's there, and Darcy Hordichuk, another Saskatchewan kid, not huge but tough as could be. Training camp, goes in a locker room, and this is his opportunity. Well, Denny goes to go to the bathroom, and Darcy follows him in there, and he's standing at the urinal as Denny, and Darcy says, Mr. Lambert, is it okay if we fight today? If we go while they're taking leaks. I mean, that's the kind of the code of it. That's the kind of business that it was. We have nothing like that now. It's changed so much.
Do you like, as much as it's entertaining, it is, and I've always been a proponent of fighting because honestly, just because I enjoy it. But then you hear these stories and you're like,
You hate hearing, it's this problem. It's entertainment, but then you hate hearing the end result of some of these players. One player that stands out is, Stephen Pete, who died recently, and he was a big-time tough guy for the Washington Capitals. He had the major fight with P.J. Stock years ago. You've seen it. It's when I say unbelievable, the amount of punches going both ways, but yet he struggled mightily after. So you hate hearing about it afterwards.
Yeah.
And yet on the other hand, we get caught in the if it's necessary that it's a good way for the teams for players to police the game themselves and to eliminate some of the running around that unfortunately we also do have because of less fighting. The fear factor, the intimidation's not as much
So
there.
there's an element of that, the self-policing, but I also believe like the spur of the moments fight,
Perfect,
which still happen, and I think those are really valuable too because it's a game of mistakes. It's a game mostly of frustration, and if you don't allow these guys to lose their cool every once in a while under the guise of a somewhat sanctioned fight, that's when you get guys swinging sticks at each other.
Yeah, again, those fights I'm all for. The older days, and I'm going back in 90s and 2000s of just the big guys, just kind of with nothing really going on.
Yeah, that's more what the thing is, not the act of fighting in general, but that you are paid to fight in that.
But every team did it. Every team copycat each other, and again, they had these. It was the era of what's the word I'm looking for? Battleships. But there's another word I'm looking for. It was basically every team escalated to try and keep the other team down. And it was a game of battleship type of thing, and that's what it was. And man, there were some players that were not good hockey players at all, but they were so big and so strong and could fight that they got spots, and they wouldn't get those on teams now.
And a lot of these guys end up dying of
Derek
drugs and alcohol because the only way that they can medicate themselves,
that's the sad
because
part.
they hate it so much is through alcohol and drugs.
And that's where I pause now, as being older, and you understand people. Everybody goes through crap. You know that. You realize that now. You think that the world it's the grass is greener type of thing. You think those guys who are so respected and admired, and they're usually those guys the nicest, kindest, sweetest
Thornton
guys.
is a great guy.
Sean Thornton is a great guy, but they're also, they've got these attitudes and they've got personalities. But again, they're just the nicest guys. They'll do anything for you, right? And that's part of their presence, and that's part of their being, is that they want to help protect. That's what Stu Grimson always said. It's like, I want to help protect these guys. That's my job,
right?
But then you also hear about it afterwards, and now as you get older, you're like, ugh, you hate hearing how some of these guys have struggled in their post career.
I mean, if you think of it this way, is that I have to bare knuckle fight 80 times. Not in the NHL, but in juniors. When I'm a kid, I have to bare knuckle fight sometimes 2-3 times a game. I got this back in the day.
Hey, listen, it's happening now still, in much less in juniors. Excuse me, but it's still happening. There's the rules there. Do you remember from Atlanta, Eric Bolton?
No.
Do you remember that name? No. Okay, he was another major fighter. His son has become a tough guy in the OHL, and he's following in Dad's footsteps, and he's fighting regularly. And you're like, he's 18, and you're like, oh, is that what you really want? But this is what he wants, and so there's an element of, hey, if I choose to do this, it's okay. It's allowed. It's permissible.
And real quick, just another thing is the guys didn't get paid that much money because they were just the tough guys, and they would lose so much money in suspensions and fines.
Some of them, if they did something dumb,
if you did something dumb, that you would I think at the end of Myers, he's just breaking even, because he's getting called up for games and then going down, and then he's just breaking even.
If you look up George Larocque for his fight highlights, there's one video on YouTube. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes. Now it includes the build up and a little bit of explanation as to why they're going, but it's 2 hours and 6 minutes of a fight compilation video for one player.
I can't remember
minute-long fights, right?
I can't remember who he was fighting one time. It's the classic Larocque thing, and it's another big guy, and the mic catches them saying to him as they separate, nothing's happening out the face-up. They talked, whatever, and then he says, good luck. And, that's what it is. I mean, it's again, he's a gentleman going into it.
Well, it's funny hearing guys, and this is the end because we're just talking about the past, but it's funny hearing guys talk about Probert, because Probert was good at hockey.
He was so scary.
But he was good at hockey, but he was insane.
He took more punches to the face. He was like a hibernating bear that he would take 3, 4, 5 hits. And his endurance was his greatest quality. Besides being strong as an ox, his endurance, all of a sudden, he would shake and wake up, and then he would pummel you into oblivion. His hit, and Joe Kocur, Mike Hartman once told me, Hardy was playing for Winnipeg, or Buffalo it was, and Joe Kocur, his fists were so big, he wouldn't hit you straight on, right? He would hit from the side, and his fist was so strong, it broke his helmet, and he couldn't hear for 3 days out of his left ear.
Have you seen Kosher's hands?
Unbelievable.
They're calcified, because Kosher, I was in Detroit
Yeah.
with Mitch Albom when Kosher was around. He was around. I don't think he was playing. he might have been at the end of his career, but he was around, and he came in, and like he's these big mitts, and his knuckles are calcified into one
knuckle,
long knuckle, like one long knuckle. Like big
Could you
old
imagine though, team
battery
with
rams?
Joey Kosar, Rob Probert, McCarty, sorry, Darren McCarty, who was another crazy,
he's
light heavy, and then you had like Kelly Chase and Tony Twist with St. Louis, and then you had Ben Wilson, whether he was with Philly or Chicago. I mean, the mega fighters that were in that era. Peter Worrell, Donald Brashear.
I remember Brashear.
Well, it was the Bruise Brothers the Probert tandem.
Yeah,
that was the Bruise Brothers.
Those two guys were, oh my gosh.
All right.
And I was with Bob Probert when he was in Chicago, when he went there, and he was going through rehab, and he had gotten himself, and he was an amazing individual.
Well, everyone loves
talk
him.
with.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved my time when I fell into broadcasting, and I would skate with the guys over the summer still and everything. And he was just such a nice guy.
Did he tell you his border story when they tried to let him
the motorcycle one?
Yeah, they tried to let him off.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't give. So he went in the bath. They know he's got coke on him.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, dude, because he lived in Windsor and he was going back and forth to Detroit. And so
yeah.
like they like, all right, Bob, like he'd already had 18 DUIs. Like I'm not joking, like 8 DUIs. This is the 80s. And so they it's going across the border. They're like, Bob, why don't you go to the bathroom? They're like, why don't you go to the bathroom? And he's like, huh? And they're like, go to the bathroom. So he goes to the bathroom and does most of his coke. And then comes back and they're like, oh, are you kidding me? And they're like, we have to arrest you, Bob. He's like, come on. And they're like, no, like I gave you an opportunity to get rid of your cocaine and you didn't get rid of all of your cocaine.
You did a lot because your nostrils look like the rim of a margarita glass.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
you gotta...
they were trying to let him go and he wouldn't do it.
Such a beauty.
All right. Well, that was fun. I
Thanks,
do
Billy.
enjoy hearing
All right,
that
guys.
from your perspective. All right. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headline. possibly have missed from the show.
We're touching Hardy. Coverage of Super Bowl 59 is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Falling apart. The whole operation's off.
That's tough.
And you see the things for gout, and I'm not doing any of the things.
Well, maybe you don't have the gout again. Maybe you just got a sore ankle.
No, it's all swollen and everything. It's gout.
Is it?
Well, you said you got
the
you
dog
went to
bothering on it, sniffing it a lot.
Smell a particular odor that the dog is attracted to.
You're saying, well, no, because we'll go through that whole exercise again when they say your foot's infected, and then you've got an IV of antibiotics because you have gout. That was a bit of a
the stack, but we didn't do any emails because Billy stayed after. But I got one here. Boston singles are joining others across the country to do everything possible to find their soulmate. 3-Day Rules' new $1 million matchmaking experience.
Whoa,
Fred offers a breadth and intensity of services
I read this,
unparalleled
yeah.
in the dating industry. Is this something that you'd be interested in? $1 million matchmaking.
So how is it $1 million matchmaking? Is it worth $1 million? Is that what they're saying? Have they put a price tag on love? Is it $1 million?
Well, first you must choose love, which we know you're unwilling to do.
I'm willing to try.
Okay. I just wanted to pass that along to you.
Interstate highway.
Why can't you just live with the fact that it's 128 for periods of time?
Because it's not unique to Massachusetts. It goes through the entire
It's Route
East
128. How many times do we have to go through this?
This is the guy who still calls the Mass Pike I-90.
Yeah,
what are you
I know,
going to do with
that's-
him?
I know.
Dummy.
I know.
With the price of eggs astronomical right now, the question I have, how much would it cost Zolak to eat a Cumby's egg salad sandwich behind the dumpster now?
Oh.
It wasn't just a sandwich. It was a tray of sandwiches.
And it wasn't from Cumberland Farms.
tray?
It was from Shaw's.
Did someone say there's an egg salad sandwich behind the dumpster?
All right. It's not funny if you're in on it. Yeah, the story is that it wasn't just he was eating an egg salad sandwich.
It was from Star Market, and he bought a tray of mini egg salad sandwiches, and he parked behind the little alley that
Down in
separated our
Dorchester,
building
yeah,
from
next
Star Market.
door, yeah.
And crouched down behind the dumpster and was eating them.
Crouched down.
So he wouldn't be
funniest part.
spotted.
Which tells you the dining options by the old station is that you had to get a plate of a tray of egg salad sandwiches.
Well, you either ate there or you stopped at the Lamberts on your way back if you were going south down Morrissey. That was it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a great area. Glad Greater Media decided that that's where they wanted to park a bunch of radio stations. Zolak and Bertrand are off to the Super Bowl. They'll be joining you from New Orleans, Louisiana, in